kick the field goal. It'll be Jason Gingell out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman.
Good morning, and a good Friday morning to you. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. And after yesterday's rendition of this program, we'll get to our cohorts here in a minute. I mean, stuff's falling apart at the seams. We've established it's not a professional operation, if you didn't hear about it yesterday, or an ex-professional operation. So from now on, this show is Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman and the ex-professionals. That's the name of this program moving forward. We'll get to YouTube clouds in a minute. We come your way each and every day, as you know, from 10 a.m. until noon. You can join us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. And you can also join us in podcast form. Just go wherever you get your podcast, to Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman, Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever it is, and you will be dialed in. Now look, before we go any further today, of number one importance, without a doubt, we send a happy and thankful Veterans Day to all of you out there who have served, are serving, and will serve for the United States of America. Still the greatest country in the world. And we thank you, God bless you, and hope that every day you are treated with the respect and the honor that you deserve. All right. We start taking a look at what's going on around the sports. In sports. In the NFL, as you know, the Bengals are off this weekend. They will play next Sunday afternoon. I mean, unless you've been under a rock. It was announced on Tuesday of this week that night game has been moved to a 4:25 game in the afternoon against Pittsburgh next Sunday. The Steelers are home to the Saints this coming Sunday, and New Orleans is a 1.5 favorite. Last night, Thursday Night Football, the Carolina Panthers beat the Atlanta Falcons 25-15. After watching Carolina last week, I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't win another game all year long. But they looked good last night on offense and defense. They ran it for 230-plus yards, 130 of those from Dante Freeman. Atlanta slips a half game behind Tampa Bay in the NFC South. The Buccaneers are over in Berlin, Germany, taking on the white-hot Seattle Seahawks. That game will come your way on Sunday morning. Inside the AFC North, Ravens are off. The Browns have a tough one on Sunday. They're going down there to Miami. Tua's healthy, playing well, scoring lots of points. Little surprised it's only a Miami favorite of 3.5 points. Other notable games on Sunday. The 7-1 Vikings go to Buffalo. And maybe the single biggest question in the NFL, the health of Josh Allen. He had this elbow situation back in 2018. He was able to play through it. Nobody's saying how serious this is. Does he need Tommy John surgery? Does he not need it? If he does need it, can he wait till the end of the year? And no word yet as to whether or not he is going to play. The 49ers host the Chargers. That game is in San Jose. And the Dallas Cowboys play in Green Bay. The Packers' season is hanging in the balance. And there are some people that are saying that Jordan Love might get starts before this season is over if the Packers continue to lose. That will be one of the most interesting stories in the NFL for a crummy team. College football, UC Bearcats play tonight at sold-out Nippert Stadium. That's against East Carolina. That's no layup. We're going to talk to Dan Horde about that coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. Top 4. You got number 1 Georgia playing at Mississippi State. Number 2 Ohio State is home to Indiana. That's a 40-point spread for the Bucks. Number 3 Michigan hosts Nebraska. And without a doubt, the best game of the weekend is number 4 TCU going on the road to Austin, Texas to battle the Longhorns. That will be on Saturday night in prime time. ESPN Game Day going there to Austin for that game. Huge college football playoff ramifications there. College hoops last night, the University of Cincinnati beat Cleveland State 69-58. David DeJulius pours in 18. Bearcats go to 2-0. Ohio State smashed Charleston Southern in Columbus, and the Xavier Musketeers play tonight against Montana. The Grizzlies in town. Tip-off at 8 o'clock. And that apparently is a sellout as well. Is that correct, Paul Fritzner, Casey McAllister? Good morning, gentlemen.
Hello, Tom. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I mean, for an ex-professional, all is well. Casey, what kind of feedback did you get, if any? Did you take a beating? Did you take some ribbing, or did anybody really not care?
I
care.
No, I had some people tell me that I should be fired. Of course.
Really?
My fiance was wondering if I was still going to have a job. You know, she was very concerned. Jokingly. All jokes aside, I didn't get any huge backlash, but I guess that makes me not an ex-producer, right?
That's not my decision. I mean, this show might have my name on it, but I'm not the boss. I mean, I'm the boss of nothing, except one of our 2 dogs, and she went blind a year and a half ago, 14 years young. She thinks I'm the boss. I make sure she's well fed, gets outside, gets a lot of exercise, whole 9 yards. The other dog loves my wife, kids. I'm not the boss anymore. Wife, haven't been the boss. We've been married 22. I haven't been the boss for 21. So that's where we stand. We'll have to take that up with Trace Fowler. I started to ask you a question, Paul. That game is sold out tonight at Xavier?
Yeah, sold out. It's Alumni Weekend, remember, right?
Oh, that's right. That's right. It'll be jumping down there at Dana Gardens.
It will.
Starting about 4 p.
Yeah,
is that the sweatshirt you got on there?
Yeah. Had
Really?
to pull it out. Well, I've worn the Xavier hoodie a couple of times, so I figured I'd pull out the Dana's one. Give them some pub. For the pub.
Now, I understand the whole sort of, I guess, Irish connection to that bar of some kind. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, but they make their money primarily from Xavier people.
Well, it's all we got, Tom.
Well, and at least you got something.
That's right.
Okay, so why wouldn't they make that in blue?
Yeah,
the writing on there.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. For as much as I've been there, I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to ask him tonight.
Got to take that. Who's the owner of that place? You
BJ.
know who the owner is?
BJ. Yes, I know him very well.
What's his name?
BJ.
BJ. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to ask BJ about that.
Yep.
Fellas, today at 11 o'clock we mentioned we got Dan Horde coming up. Man, has he been busy. This is his time of the year where this guy is nonstop. He had UC basketball last night, UC football tonight. Now, he does catch a break over the weekend with the Bengals off, but from here on out, UC will be playing during the week in basketball. You still got 2 weeks left, maybe 3, plus a bowl game for UC football. And, of course, the Bengals, after this weekend, will play all the way through, we hope, again, February, but at least into January. 11:30, we're doing our picks today. And, one thing we did not get to yesterday, and, before we go any further, since we were talking about college basketball there for a second, you are posting your show now, correct, on Local Hoops?
Yeah. It's a local show, and it's a 10 to 15-minute recap show the first true episode will be out on Monday morning. The teaser episode is already out now, so you can subscribe and go and find it. But it's called The Rebound Rundown, and it's an opportunity to just figure out what happened in local Cincinnati area hoops from the night before. Kentucky, UC, Xavier, Dayton, NKU, Wright State, Miami. Just a short preview and a short recap of every game those teams are going to play for the season. So just a way that you can have enough to talk about if you're standing around the water cooler with the office or whatever it might be. If you missed the game the night before, we'll get you up to speed. So I'll record it the night before, and then you'll have it for your morning commute the next morning.
Okay.
Yep.
Why in the world is this computer charger not working over here?
Oh, that's a great question.
Might have something to do with not being plugged in. Why don't you two guys talk for a second? Let me plug this in.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Please do.
Casey?
Yeah, so I was just getting ready to actually put up the rebound.
The rundown?
Rebound rundown here. I just need a second to pull it up.
Okay. Yeah, no, shout out to Trace Fowler. We labored long and hard on a name. As any of you watching know, we put out requests for names and everything like that, and we came up with it the other day. Trace whipped up this logo in about, I don't know, an hour. Great looking logo, and if we can get it up here on the screen, I know, Casey, you're working hard on this. Yeah, I'm excited for it because it's an opportunity, like I said. You just find out what you were trying to find out about a game from the night before. Here's the logo. Look at that. Sleek looking logo there from Trace Fowler.
Looks good.
Whipping it up.
So that's a new logo for your show?
Yeah, professional looking.
It's a great logo. I'm just wondering why you didn't incorporate, since it's a local show and you got all kinds of suggestions from people, why there's not, something that tells us it's local.
Well, we didn't. We kicked around having Cincinnati in it, but we didn't want to make it seem like it was a UC only podcast. So we strayed away from just putting Cincinnati in it. And also, on days maybe when none of the local teams play, I might give a headline or two from some national stories. So I didn't want to pigeonhole it just into the local area. And also, Trace and I might do some nightly shows here and there, some live shows, Twitter Spaces, stuff like that. So keeping it a little more general, we thought was a better idea to make sure that if we did branch out here or there, we could just kind of keep all our college basketball content in one spot.
Gotcha. Well, Sir Boy Wonder says great logo.
It's already on Apple, Spotify, all those podcast networks. So if you want to listen, you can go subscribe right now.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Yesterday we were hoping to get into, for lack of a better term, a mid-season report.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear some feedback from you guys, because now with 17 games, there's nothing exactly as a midseason report, of course. But the Bengals are 5-4, right where they were at the bye week last year. Their schedule in the back half of last year, and I hate to continue to use those two words, last year. It's old news. This is a different team. This is a different year. There are a lot of different players. Yeah, a lot of the regulars are there. There are some injuries, obviously, that have happened this season that didn't happen last year. The schedule is certainly tougher back half of this year. But I'm going to throw you guys on the spot, and we're going to walk through different parts of this team.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you guys to make a comment or two about each particular area. And we invite all of you online. You jump in. Tell us if you agree or disagree. We have hundreds, if not thousands, watching right now. And certainly will be later. But we're going to walk through each area of the team, and we are going to get your grade for how they have done so far. Is that fair?
That's
Sure.
fair.
Okay, let's start as we always start. You have to start with a quarterback. So Joe Burrow, who is the face of the franchise, the first 2 games of the year was terrible. Since then, has started to get better and better and better and better. I would give him so far a B. I think there are times he holds on to the ball too long. He takes sacks that are unnecessary, but God bless him. He's trying to make a play, and he's proven he can make plays. I still think that if I had to choose between the trio of Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, I would still take Burrow number 1 on that list. Many of you may disagree, but I still think his overall play this year, it's moving up. But I would say it is a B to B plus. Gentlemen?
I think that is fair, a B to B plus. I would also say that under the circumstances of which he's played in and how he had his appendix removed, like not getting much of an off season, I'm going to give him a B plus overall. I think it could have been an A if he snuck out a few more wins.
Yep.
Especially like the Dallas game, which is not really his fault, or the Baltimore game, again, not really his fault, but those are games where we could have really used a better drive from them. And I know the Baltimore game was more about coaching than it was himself, but you just need to make one or more 2 plays, and we're not even having that discussion to begin with. So I'm going to give him a B+. Joe's been really good this season.
Paul?
Yeah, B+ was what I was going to go with, too. I just think that he's too talented to not give him anything lower than you're not going to give him a C. He's played well. And the other thing, too, is as the play calling has matured over the last couple of weeks and you're not seeing those stupid little dink and dime plays or the shovel, you're not seeing as much weird creativity in the play calling, and you're giving Joe just a chance to go out there and do what he does best. That's why. Okay. That's why he is what he is.
All right. These other areas we're going to get. Let's go to the run game. Okay. So P. Ryan gets mixed in there, but by and large, we're talking about mixing. It's safe to say you have a hard time running the ball when the guys who are supposed to block the other team don't do a great job, and we will get to the offensive line here in a minute. Mixon coming off a monster game, AFC Player of the Week, first 100-yard rushing game going back almost an entire full season. 17 games had passed since he rushed for 100. He was steadily in that, and that includes, by the way, the playoffs. He was steadily in that 80, 70, 80, 90 range last year when he led the AFC in rushing yards. He actually has, I think, more rushing yards this year than he had at this point last year, or it's right there, the team does. But I think he appeared to me a little tentative early in the year. Instead of hitting some holes where he might have gotten 3 or 4, he's getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. I would give him a B-.
I'm going to actually give him like a C+.
Okay.
Mainly because of what you said and the fact that it took this long to even get past the 100-yard mark. Like, it's not a good look. I know some of it was partially coaching again. Like, I'm sure when we get to coaching, we're going to have a field day on that, honestly. That's been the majority of the issues, in my opinion. But Joe, in the extension of the run game and the dump-offs and whatnot, bumps him up from a C+ to me to a B, because he's been much better and more involved in those dump-offs. And I get that some of them could have been better. He could have maybe broke a tackle or more, but this is much more involved than he's ever been in the dump-off game, and they've got some sort of chemistry figured out to how to throw it to him. And I mean, it was very obvious from week 1. He had 9 targets in week 1, and
well, that's because the quarterback was getting killed.
Right, but
he got sacked 7 times.
I'm just saying, though, he's been a very reliable dump-off.
Except for the one area where you have to bring into question here, and I've not done it. Now, the Bengals coaches are going to stick up for the guy. They're not going to kick him in front of the bus. But I think it's safe to say his pass protection has been shaky at best. They say it's been good. Normally, he's been good when he's in there in picking up blitzers and things like that. But I'd say that's been hit or miss. That's why he gets a B- for me.
Yeah, and he's also 3rd in attempts for rushing this season. Before that, I mean, he was just not very good. I mean, before this last week. Which,
yeah. And I mean, look, you can get into, well, he's on pace for 1,100, 1,200 yards. Well, if you turn around and give it to a guy 3rd most times in the league, he better get to 1,000 yards or 1,100 yards. I mean, but it's what he's doing on yards per carry. Paul, what do you think?
You guys are a lot more generous than I would have been.
Okay.
I was going to go C-.
Okay.
Why? I think Mixon has not clearly been very good this year. And the point you made, you took the words right out of my mouth. The blocking. I mean, he that's been an area too where, look, sometimes you just got to pick a guy up, and with all these sacks that Joe's taking, sometimes you got to be able to pick a guy up off the edge or whatever it might be. And if you got to be able to do one or the other to make yourself kind of valuable. And until last week, you take last week out of the equation, Bengals fans wanted to cut the guy. So, yeah, I mean, I'm out more so, I guess, on Mixon than – but I don't want to say I'm out on him that they should cut him now. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think he's had a tough year, and this 1 week hopefully spurs a strong second half. But, boy, he had a tough first half.
I would also like to mention here, too, that when you have Joe Burrow as your second leading rusher, that's not a really good look.
Well,
and he has more
how many
attempts,
times
too.
has P. Ryan touched it?
He's only had 25 attempts.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a reason that he's the second leading rusher. He's got the ball in his hands every snap.
Right, but
He's having to run for his life.
My point is they're not trying to give like a change of pace running back in that lineup. There's nothing to like show that they're going to move away from Mixon. So we're going to have to stick with him. And I know last week was a really good indicator that maybe he still has some stuff in the tank. But, I mean, if you look at the rest of the season, he's only averaging, I think, 65 yards a carry or something like that.
65 yards a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. It's not a good look for Mixon.
Okay. All right. The wide receiving core. Jamar Chase was on pace to have an even better year this year than he did last year. We don't know how long he's going to be out with his hip injury. That is certainly the single most significant injury to any one team's star player. And make no mistake, I mean, Burrow's the face of the franchise. Their best player is Jamar Chase. We don't know how long he's going to be out. T. Higgins early in the year had the concussion. He had the ankle injury. Tyler Boyd at times has been spectacular. At other times, you don't even know he's on the team. I'm going to lump the tight ends on this one. No, I'm not. I'm going to just stay with the wide receiving core. And we've seen sprinkled in lately some other guys, Taylor and some of these other guys. But, again, I don't think that they have been great. I think they've certainly been better than average. So, to me, this group, I would say they are in the B-plus range. Paul, you up first on this one.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And I just think that it's a shame, the injury, Jamar, that's a shame. But, yeah, I'm with you on a B-plus. I think that they've been good to really good at points this year.
Yeah, they don't drop balls.
No, they don't. And how much – I'll put this back to you a little bit, Tom. How much do you feel like the lack of creativity and routes early in the season may have contributed to what they could have done more?
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, when your quarterback's getting killed, and this is all about, you hear so much about halftime adjustments. Coaches will tell you it is a series by series adjustment. What are you doing? If your quarterback's getting killed, or at least under heavy pressure, the second he catches a ball out of shotgun, you cannot have three guys running 12 to 15-yard routes, if not longer, down the field. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
So that's where you start to see the slants and some of the creativity stuff. You'll see a lot with Kansas City. When they know stuff's coming, they've got a route specifically designed there for Kelsey to make sure he can get it right across the middle of the field, quick release, and they do it all the time. And if they can do it, other teams can do it. Where do you put them?
I'm actually going to kind of shock people here on this one. I'm disappointed in this group.
Why?
Well, mainly because they are as advertised, I feel like, as a number one Jamar Chase, a number one T. Higgins, and borderline number one certified best number two out there in the league with T. Higgins. Or Tyler Boyd, I'm sorry. This group, to me, I don't know if it's all about the coaching, which I do have a lot of gripes with coaching. I mean, they might be my lowest graded section in this whole entire segment here. But, I mean, the Cleveland game to me showed a lot of different things. And I know Burrow was getting hit a lot, but the receiving core did not do them any favors. I mean, the first interception is really a good tell of that. I mean, if T. Higgins doesn't – we don't talk about this enough, honestly. T. Higgins needs to know that he's got to swat the ball down. He can't smack it up in the air. they teach you in the tip drill in offense, you got to smack the ball down. And I get he was trying to make a play, go and catch a ball, but that's not where you do it at. You can't do it there in the red zone. They really needed T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd to step up in that game. They didn't. And really last week they didn't really do they were decent, but they didn't throw the ball a whole lot.
No.
And they didn't need to. I get that. But right now I'm disappointed.
Okay.
So I'm giving them a B minus.
Okay. Tight ends. Uzama moved on. What's that?
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Did I screw something up?
No.
You sure?
I jumped the gun.
Professional and all? You sure I didn't mess it up?
I'm the ex-professional. I jumped the gun.
No, you're not. You weren't charged with that yesterday.
No, you are the professional because you were going in the right direction there.
Okay, so we go to tight ends. Uzama walked out the door, and you can't blame the guy. You know, I heard somebody say the other day, Uzama's walking off. You know, come on, $24 million or whatever it was over 3 years. I mean, come on. You're taking the cash. The Bengals weren't offering him that money. God bless him. Good for him. Good dude, good leader. He's up in New York with the Jets. But the Bengals, I think, made one of the great shrewd moves made during the offseason by any team. Former number 1 pick, Hayden Hurst, maybe a little bit of was a disappointment for a number 1 pick in Baltimore. He comes here, and right now he is on pace to break the all-time single-season franchise record for receptions in a single season by a tight end. It's held by the former great, one of the all-time greats who nobody ever talks about, in Danny Ross. Boy, what a player he was. What a player Dan Ross was. But his record is 71. Hurst is on pace for 72. Now, tight ends cannot just be judged by the number of receptions they have because offenses are not equal in the way they're created and the significance of the tight end. I think what we've seen starting last week, and I'll be very curious to see moving forward, okay, is the blocking of tight ends. Wilcox last week, when they ran the ball all over Carolina, Wilcox was a huge reason why they ran the ball. He blocked incredibly well. So I'm going to give this group, and they had the injury early in the year to Sample. You know, he whiffed on the point after, blocking up front against Pittsburgh, would have won the game in week 1. But I'm staying pretty steady. I think for this team, by and large, they're over 500, which means they're a little better than average. I would say, though, the tight end group gets an A-. I think Hayden Hurst is a hell of a player, and I think the Bengals have a big decision to make at the end of this year about whether they're going to keep him.
I think that's fair. I'm actually going to give this group – I'm going to give him a B+.
Okay.
You lose a guy like Uzama, who's a leader on this team. That's a big deal. And the way Hayden has come in and been productive on both sides of blocking and receiving, being a leader and our depth being decent, I think is a big deal. And I think moving forward that they should utilize Hurst a little bit more. I think they need to go into more 12 personnel. And I'm looking forward to this group. I'm really hoping that Hayden doesn't play out of a contract because I feel like he probably could if we feature him too much. But we only have him for a year. That's all we're guaranteed. So let him play. Let's use the most that we can out of him, get the most we can, and move forward. And if he plays out of his contract, then so long. We'll have depth at least in blocking. I'm sure we'll find someone. I know the guy in Notre Dame is a great target for us that people talk about.
Yeah, the Bengals have no chance of getting him.
No,
they would have to lose damn near every game the rest of the season.
You think so?
That conference. He's a top 7 pick. They have no chance to get him. Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer. I had no idea.
No chance.
Well,
no chance.
Anyway,
zero.
He's the man.
He's the man.
I broadcasted Covcath games while he was there, so I knew him really well. He is the man.
And he's the man at Notre Dame. I mean,
yes.
He is the man. There are players, and Notre Dame has had its fair share of great tight ends through the years. That guy is a great football player. Be interesting to see who picks him up in the draft because he's without a doubt a top 7, 8, 10 pick.
Yeah.
And you hope the Bengals are not in that spot. If they are, then maybe they get him. What do you put on this group? What do you think?
I was going to go higher. I'm going to give them an A.
Okay.
I think the tight ends have been really impressive, and
Yep.
I'm going to give them, with a little bit of context to that we weren't sure what we were going to get out of them this season without Uzama, and you're bringing in Hayden Hurst. I think they've been impressive. I like what I've seen. I'll give them an A.
Okay. All right. Now we get to the area of most controversy. Well, outside of coaching, and we'll get to that in a minute. The offensive line. 13 sacks in the first 2 games against the Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. It was ugly. And Joe Burrow got hit a lot more than 13 times. He just happened to be sacked 13 times. Then all of a sudden, they started to make progress. But then all of a sudden, they ran into a team in Cleveland that presented them with a challenge in terms of 2 pass rushers that they had not seen since the second game of the year down in Dallas. And they looked like they took another major step back. But there has been, since the second week, there has been progress. And I said from the very beginning, if you remember, and I'm not patting myself on the back, and it doesn't mean I'm right, but I still stand by what I stood by before the first kick of the season. And that is, this group should have gotten playing time together at least a little bit in the preseason. I know they avoided injuries. I get that. And some say, well, you didn't get anybody hurt, so, maybe you got to play through the first couple of games as an offensive line to get communication and all that. I don't buy into that argument at all. Anybody who says you got to wait 7 or 8 weeks to kind of see where you are in the season, not a chance, because you've let games get away that you should have won, that now you've got to win down the stretch against better teams. Losing to the Steelers and losing to the Cowboys with Cooper Rush is inexcusable. And that offensive line was a primary reason why. I'm going to give them a C-. Because the one thing I think this group can do, and again, why did it take us into a 9th game of the season to find this out? You talk to any offensive lineman and they will tell you their worst nightmare is to all of a sudden fall into a pattern where when the ball is snapped, you're backpedaling, meaning constant pass protection. You're not asked to go hit people and drive them backwards. You get to go forward instead of backwards. We'll get to the coaching on that in a minute. But I think this group has a chance to be a dominant run team because I think this group is a very good group of run blockers. If they're forced to throw it 30 and 35 or 40 times a game, they're done. They're done. I don't care who the receivers are. So far, I would say I'm going to make it a straight-up C. I think they've been average. Their games, they've been brutal. Their games, they've been good. So I'm sticking right in the middle. Gentlemen?
I'm going to go C-, and I'll make mine quick because I know Casey has more to say on this than I do. I'm with you, Tom. I think that there have been more inspiring performances lately, but you just have so many question marks there that I don't know if I can go higher than a C-.
That's fair. Matter of fact, I think if people out there wanted to go lower than that, and Casey, maybe you are lower than I think the case could be made that they're worse than C-. What do you think?
I'm actually gonna go worse. I'm giving them a D. They're on pace to be worse than the line than we had last year.
You mean in terms of number of sacks, they're still on that pace?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all you really need to know. And that has affected the trajectory of this team.
Yeah.
That's just inexcusable. And what's so wild is the consistency is so the variable is so huge. They'll have games like they had against Panthers, and you're like, wow, they're finally getting it. And
or the Falcons.
Or the Falcons. And then they go.
But those are terrible teams. God almighty, are they terrible teams.
Yeah, but.
I mean, they're awful. Those two. That whole division state. But go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. Please forgive me.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. But they just cannot figure out how to stop when a team has a dominant pass rusher, the 4-man rush. That's all teams have to do is rush 4 if they've got a dominant pass rusher. You get a TJ, all you got to do is rush 4. If you have a Myles Garrett, all you got to do is rush 4. If you have a Micah Parsons, well, all you got to do is rush him and 3 others. And that's it. And our team cannot figure it out. And I got to give them a D because it's not just that they can't figure it out mentally. It seems like some of the more physical stuff, like at the beginning of the season, we were seeing La'el Collins just get beat, and he looks so
He's gotten
stiff.
better, though.
He's gotten a little better.
He's gotten a lot better. He's gotten a lot better. And if you're going to give Joe Burrow a bit of a hall pass here for the appendectomy and all that kind of thing, you got to give a little hall pass here to Collins.
No,
he was hurt in the entire preseason.
I'm not just grading Collins.
No, I know
though.
you're not. I know you're not.
And I mean, Jonah Williams, man,
brutal.
He's been brutal. I don't get the guy. I mean,
I get him. I get it.
You get it?
I do get it. I think he was. I thought he was overrated coming out of college.
I agree with that. I think he's out of position. I don't think tackle should be his natural spot. I think we both agree with that. He should be a guard. But their refusal and the coaching staff, which we'll get to that, to make those adjustments to get a bona fide left tackle has hurt this team. And, I mean, he's got 9 sacks on the season, and this is his worst year he's had yet. And maybe that's because all the eyes were set on all the other weak links in our line, which was a lot. He was probably the strongest link out of our entire line.
Well, he was the only one they brought back.
Right.
I mean, that tells you all you need to know.
Right. And so all I'm saying is that now that he is the guy that is the weakest link out of our line, they target him early and often with stunts, blitzes, try to get him off his mental game, and his technique has been bad. And that was one of the things that we drafted him for, was he was a technician. If he was going to be good, he was going to have to be a master technician, and he's not been. He's been really, really poor on all those fronts. I really hope this bye week can help him progress. But right now, I got to give him a D.
Okay, well, in fairness, so to Williams, and I will say this, and I say this a lot because I really mean this, having been around professional athletes my entire life. There is something to be said for toughness. And whether Williams has had a good year, a bad year, an indifferent year, and we can sit around and talk about that from now till the end of time. But the cat's playing hurt. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's playing hurt. And you got to admire him for getting out there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we shift to the defense. Dan Horde with us at 11 o'clock. 11:30 our picks. Love to have you chime in. Give us your grades. We'll read a few of them off here. Let's see here. You know who's back today is Leif Erikson.
Oh, hey, we haven't heard from Leif in a while.
The Real Spirit Cat 1 says, my 16-year-old son said this morning, the Thursday night football is setting football back 50 years. Almost unwatchable. I assume that means the game last night. Yeah. Sir Boy Wonder says the O-line gets a D+. We'll read off a few of these and the defense and the coaching right around the corner.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
turn when you're in pain. Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
I was watching, there is a documentary about Nolan Ryan on Netflix, which is a spectacular piece. And I say that in all seriousness. I always thought, he was one of the great pitchers of all time. But after watching this thing, you just scratch your head and have a hard time coming to grips with how a guy can hold, or at one time held, 51 major league pitching records. They have a lot of quick cuts in that documentary of doing what Nolan did best, and that's striking people out. Lo and behold, what pops up? But Tracy Jones standing there, striking out and looking like a washerwoman in the process. He wanted to get out of that batter's spot. He swung at a pitch that he could not have hit with an ironing board that was up and away, and then almost fell down, but couldn't wait to get back to that dugout. I had to rewind it to make sure it was him, and it was. So just, if you get a chance to remember, just run that by him a bit when you all have him on Thursday.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. You let guys.
The reaction of a Tracer yesterday on our program. He'll be back with us on Tuesday, and I guess he's still going to be down there in Florida. So he was there for the next 2 weeks. Wasn't that long ago. He was down in the, where was he? Caribbean somewhere?
I thought he was in Mexico.
Mexico, Cancun. That's right. Okay, now we get to the defense. The defensive line. I think it's hard to be fair on grading this group because of the significant injury to, the guy they say is the heart and soul of that group. He's been a really good player since the Bengals brought him in here 2 years ago, and that's DJ Reader. He's a good player, really good player. And they're hoping to have him back for the remainder of the season as early as next week when they go to Pittsburgh. They had, Hendrickson is off to another big year. Sam Hubbard has played very, very well. They've not really been tested, in my opinion, by a significant ground game outside of Cleveland. And when they were gashed pretty good. But by and large, this group, it's hard to argue with anything the defense has done this year. I mean, heck, they went the first 7 games of the year without allowing a touchdown in the second half. But I still think, and I said it weeks ago, I'm not saying it now, I still think they missed a chance to go get another significant pass rusher. Hubbard's a good pass rusher, not a great pass rusher. Hendrickson is a great pass rusher. They're still looking for that guy. Maybe it comes from within. Maybe it comes from Reader. A little more push up the middle, along with B.J. Hill. But I say this group's been solid. I say A-.
That is a good grade. I feel comfortable with an A-. Even with the injury to Reader, they've been impressive. The depth there has not disappointed. I know they're not at the level of DJ Reader, but Jay Tufele, he's been playing pretty well. I know the 2 games that he had against the Falcons and the Panthers, those 2 really good games he had were against lesser competition. But he played really well, good enough to win us the game. And the depth behind Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson, although they've not been able to get to the quarterback, they've been decent when when it matters.
Yep.
Right. So.
Yep. Well, except for two division games that are big ones. They weren't there when it really mattered against Baltimore, and they weren't there when it really mattered against Cleveland.
Right, but I think the difference there is Reeder. I really do. I think if he's there, that makes a big enough difference.
Okay.
I think that pushes the needle.
So your grade is what?
A-.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I was teetering between an A- and a B+. I'm going to stick with an A- just because of Reeder's injury. I would have liked to have seen what this unit could do the whole year with everybody healthy. And now it's going to be tough with even more injuries. Awuzie being out and everybody having to slide around. I think Cam Taylor-Britt's got some room to grow, obviously.
Are we talking about the secondary or the defensive line here?
Oh, I thought we were just doing the defense as a whole.
No, we're doing the D-line.
Oh, okay. D-line, I'll give him a B+ then.
Okay.
I'll give him a B+.
Fair enough. We move on. Linebackers are hard in this day and age to really grade because you're playing almost all the time with a fifth, if not sixth, defensive back on the field with all the passing going on around the league. But I think it's safe to say Pratt and Wilson have done the job you asked them to do. They're good, solid players. I give them a B.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a B+.
Okay.
I think Logan is so close to being like a Luke Kuechly type player. If he was just a little bit more athletic, I think he would be that guy. I really do. He's just got a nose for the ball. He's a sound tackler. Same with Pratt. They know their assignments. They execute their assignments. It's very rare that they blow an assignment or miss a tackle. So I got to give him a B+.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that one, honestly.
Okay.
B+.
Right. Let's go to the secondary. Without Awuzie, we know Eli Apple was nicked up with an ankle injury. He came back and played last week. Figures to be healthy moving forward. Mike Hilton broke his finger. He missed a game against Carolina. Had to have surgery. They went in there. It was broken in 3 places, and he had ligament damage in there. So not only had to reset the finger, they had to go in and surgically fix the ligaments in there, but he's already said, I'm back for the Pittsburgh game, no holds barred. Hilton's a good player. Von Bell is he's as good as it gets. Nobody talks about that guy, but for everything you want in a veteran safety, he's everything you want. At the end of this year, when the Bengals have a decision to make, whether to bring back Bates and let Bell walk or vice versa, I'm bringing Bell back and I'm letting Bates walk. But that's a conversation for a different time. I think that secondary is a good group, good depth. Now, that depth will be tested the rest of the way. There's going to be big-time pressure on Apple. There's going to be big-time pressure on Hill. And there's going to be big-time pressure on Taylor-Britt. And I'm not sure that we're being fair in asking Britt to be a corner. But this group, I definitely give them a solid B+, could be even higher than that. They've been good. The passing game has not killed them by the opponents this season.
Yeah, I think that's fair. A B+, right? That's what you gave them?
Yeah, and maybe even an A-. They've been that good, I think.
I would say, I think if we're just grading the season as it is right now, I'd give them a B+. I don't foresee that continuing just with the injuries that we've sustained. But right now, they've done their job. Awuzie was playing out of his mind. Eli Apples, to me, is underrated. I think he is a solid number 2. But now that we've got that switch and we've got that transition to where we have to worry about Eli Apple covering 1s and we got to worry about Cam Taylor-Britt covering 2s, it's a tough ask. So far this season, they haven't disappointed. Cam Taylor-Britt has been burnt a few times But we're asking him to kind of play out of position, if you ask me, at least in the NFL
No doubt about it.
And, I wish that Dax Hill was more involved. That's the only reason why I won't give him an A, because I feel like if he was more involved, it would show a direction that the secondary is growing and evolving. But right now, Cam Taylor-Britt never really played much until the injuries happened. Same with Dax Hill. It took those injuries for them to even get in. Usually when you get a number 1 overall player or just a number 1 pick, they start. And right now, that's not the case.
Well, but Lou Anarumo said from the very beginning, he said, I'm not benching my starters if they're playing good. I mean, so
Right.
he laid it right out there for the world to see. And in all fairness, even though he had an up-and-down season last year, and there we are again with last year, Bates has had a solid year. You're not going to take him out of the lineup. You're certainly not going to take Von Bell out of the lineup.
No.
So, look, the two young guys, you want them to practice every day, go against great receivers and great players that they're going against on offense every single day in practice. So, them coming along, for me, is fine. Paul, where do you put them?
I'm going to go an A-.
All right, that's a good one.
Just based on what I've seen so far, their depth is going to be tested going forward, so this is definitely going to be something that we have to revisit at the end of the season. But up until this point, especially before the injuries, I'm going to go A-.
All right, now we get to special teams. And I got to tell you, Kev, and I know, we love the guy. He's been a really good player here for a long time, really good punter here for a long time, and Kevin Huber. In my opinion, they should have made the move to go with Chrisman weeks ago. And now all of a sudden they're letting Chrisman, start to work a lot more in practice and taking a long, hard look. The punting game has not been good. McPherson has not been good. No, that's not the right word. He's been good. Last year he was great. But he's not been nearly as dependable. Now, is that because of the long snapper getting hurt? I don't know. But look, this has been enough time now where I don't want to ever hear about the long snapper ever again. I don't want to hear about it. Because the bottom line is the snaps have been good. The rookie's done a nice job. Huber's still the holder. Maybe that's one of the reasons they're reluctant to make the move at punter. Because somebody else has got a hold. Chrisman did it at Ohio State. He can do it in the NFL. And I'm sure he practices it regularly. At least you would hope so. They really don't get a lot in the return game. Coverage teams have been pretty good. I will give that group a C-.
That's generous. That's generous.
It probably is. It probably is.
Because I would consider punting an F. Honestly, it's been bad, especially when we need it. It's been just brutal. I don't think there's been a time when we've pinned a team down within the 10-yard line.
Yep.
Let alone the 15.
Yep.
I think Kevin Huber's probably punted it maybe within the 20 a few times, but that's just being unacceptable in the NFL standards. Kicking wise, I'm not going to blame McPherson for the first couple weeks, but the last few weeks, it's been pretty tough. I got to give this group an F. I really do. It's been season changing. I mean,
F?
Yeah.
An F?
Yes. It's been season changing.
F would be if McPherson had missed like 7 or 8 kicks.
Isn't McPherson's stats right now where he was last year?
Correct. But
yeah, but it doesn't feel automatic anymore.
The punting game, we're not even talking about the kick return. Chris Evans has been terrible in the kick return. Ask Reed.
I agree. I said in the return game, they've done nothing.
And it's bad. I mean,
so you give him an F.
Yeah, I'm giving this group an F.
Okay,
and
Paul?
Well, I was going to be higher than that. I was going to go C-. I didn't think it'd been that bad.
Yeah, they haven't allowed a punt return for a touchdown. They haven't allowed a kickoff return for a touchdown.
But they gave up a big one.
They've given it. Yes, they have.
Some big ones.
But every team's going to give. They're not an F. Come on.
I think they've been pretty miserable.
Okay. All right. Well, that's why we're doing this.
I was saying C-. C- for me. Because, look, you could say that special teams directly contributed to that loss against the Steelers, but that was because of an injury. That wasn't because poor play. That was because of an injury. Now the punting, it's not been great. Kick returns, Chris Evans, decision making there could be better. But overall, I'm not going to say that it's an F. That means it literally couldn't get worse, Casey.
Oh, well, come on. Like, of course it could get worse. We could sit here and talk about McPherson missing 8 in a row, but
okay.
All right, let's move on because we have one final area before we get to Dan Horde at 11, and that would be coaching. Now, coaching comes in many forms, okay? It's not all on the head coach. Yes, he is the CEO and has to oversee the whole operation. It also comes down to your assistant coaches. Lou Anarumo, in my opinion, gets a solid A, maybe A+. He's been that good. You give him players. When he didn't have players, he looked like he didn't know what he was doing. He's got players now. He's making adjustments through injuries. There's a lot to be said for that. So the guys coaching the defensive line, the secondary, the linebackers, solid. Offensive line play. We talked about that. The coaching there, okay? Wide receivers coach, very good. They play tight ends. We've gone through all this already. Special teams. That's a big part of your coaching staff. Not been good. We just discussed it. At the end of the day, it all comes down to the head coach. He is the guy paid the big bucks. I was not, before the season started, giving Zach Taylor a free pass because the team went to the Super Bowl. I certainly give him the respect he's due for being a head coach of a team that got to the Super Bowl. But I think there are a lot of games where when he has to go up head-to-head, whether it's in the preparation for a game, okay, in the preparation for a game, or the actual X's and O's during a game. Play calling, adjusting to what the defense is doing. And look, he's an offensive-minded guy. We know that. So there's a huge difference between having a head coach that's an offensive guy and a defensive guy. I think I'm being quite generous here when I give the coaching staff a C-.
that's generous. That is generous.
Well, you can't say it's anything worse than that. I don't think. Maybe you guys feel differently. Because the team is over 500.
Right.
They're over 500, so they've done some things well. Go ahead, though. I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I shook my head only because that's exactly what I was going to say, and I didn't want to seem like I was a homer. But that is what I was going to say. I was going to say C- too. I think for me, what I've liked over the last few weeks, and I've said it a million times on this show if for anybody listening, I like that we're not seeing the gimmicks anymore. I think the play calling has matured in the last 4 weeks since the Ravens debacle. I really think, because that was the low point. The Ravens Sunday night game was the low point of the play calling when everybody was really – no, you don't think so?
I don't agree with that. For me, the low point in the play calling was a Cleveland game. I mean, you come out – this is a Cleveland defense. It was gashed for 250 yards by the Chargers on the ground, and they throw the ball 17 times the first 21 plays of the game. To me, that's a low point on the year. They were not ready – and that's my other knock on Taylor. They start too many games – last year, same thing. They start too many games falling behind. They look like they're unprepared for what they're about to face. So you say C-, you say what?
So I'm going to break it up into 2 different categories here because defense has been an A. So that automatically puts them at a C if I gave them an F, right? Okay. For the offense.
Right.
So I got to give the team as a whole probably a C+ to a B- because it seems like Zach Taylor his issue is consistency and knowing when to call a game a specific way against a certain team. They have a really hard time diagnosing defenses' strengths and going after those. And it's weird to me because it's kind of like a double-edged sword because we're like screaming at him like, well, we gotta throw the ball more. We gotta let Joe cook. And then next week we're like, oh, why didn't you run the ball more? Like, it's tough because I think his coaching philosophy is we are going to do what we do well, and we're going to impose our will. And then the next week it's like, oh, we're going to try to attack their weaknesses, and it's very inconsistent. That's why I'm going to give him a C+.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think those are fair grades. We're basically in the C+ to C- range.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously see how that part of it plays out moving forward. We are not going to ask Dan Horde to give grades. We've talked about this with a number of guests that we have because, just like I used to work for the Reds, got a paycheck from the Reds. Dan gets a paycheck from the Bengals. And so, we're not going to do this whole grading thing. We'll ask him about where the team is, perhaps at the, the bye week and that kind of thing. Is Dan with us already?
He is.
All right. Let's get right to him. One of our favorites on the program here, Mr. Dan Horde. Dan, the lighting looks a little off on you today. What's going on there in that palatial crib you got going on?
So here in the family room, there's a lot of natural light. And on a dark day, a great day, I could really be in shadow here. So I've taken a lamp and put it pretty close to where I am standing. That's why I'm kind of like half light, half dark. But I figured you wanted to at least see my face.
Well, absolutely want to see your handsome face. One of those things I went out and bought this year. I don't know if you're doing a lot of these kinds of things from home. Are you doing a lot of these from home, this kind of thing?
I am. Yes.
Yeah, you know what I went and bought? I bought one of those things because I was doing this Pioneer League show this summer. Have you seen those circular lamps?
The ring light.
Ring light.
The ring lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things are sweet.
I have not purchased a ring lamp. Now, I do have a big, elaborate lighting kit. And for certain appearances, no offense that you didn't qualify. For certain appearances, like if I'm on an NFL network or something like that, I'll set up the whole shebang.
Are you kidding me?
Professional.
This gets back to what happened yesterday on this program. You may not have seen it, but Casey was going into a spiel about Chatterbox and what we're trying to do, and he made the comment. He says, Tom, you're an ex-professional. So the new name of the show is Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman and the Ex-Professionals. So you've backed that up by telling us that when you break it out for the big boys, you're like a lot of those star players, Dan. You don't treat the local guys all that great, but boy, when the big national guys show up, there you are. You know what I mean?
Guilty as charged. You are not lighting kit worthy. I'm sorry, but it takes too long to set up, and it's heavy, and it's in my basement, so I did not go get it.
I get it. Hey, man, busy time for you. I talked about it at the outset when I told everybody you were coming on today. This has got, because I know what it's like to have to get ready from a preparation standpoint for an NFL game. Now, you don't this week, but you will next week the rest of the way. Getting ready for a college football game tonight. You had to get ready for a college basketball game last night. Is it a great time of the year or a great time of the year that you can't wait for it to be over?
It's a great time of the year, period. Calling games is the best.
No doubt.
That's why I got into this business when I was a kid. I love calling games. So I'll get to do 3 basketball games this week and 1 football game. If it could be a game every day of the week, I would sign up and love it. I love games. That's the best part of the job.
Tell us about UC basketball real quick. 2-0 start, looked really good opening game. Last night a little bit closer, but better competition. What have you seen that you like so far from this UC team?
Landers Nolly. That's what I've seen that I like. And I knew I was going to like him because I saw him at Memphis the last couple of years, and he played at Virginia Tech for 1 year before that. But I think he's a pro. NBA, I don't know. Borderline. But he's certainly going to make a handsome living playing basketball somewhere for a long, long time. He's 6'7". He's savvy. He's a good passer. He's a decent shooter. Didn't shoot it great last night, but a tremendous addition in the transfer portal for Wes Miller. And with Landers Nolly and David DeJulius, you have 2 really good players to lead the way. And they're both experienced. DeJulius is playing in his 5th year, and Nolly's playing in his 4th.
Okay. UC football tonight. They're able to get by Navy. It's a tough team to play. We've talked about that many times before, and the offense that they run, and you only face it once a year, and UC gets through. So now all of a sudden here we are in the home stretch. Couple of big games remaining. It starts tonight. Big crowd expected. It's supposed to stop raining by the time we kick off tonight, although a wet ball could certainly be a factor. ECU's got a pretty good team. What are your thoughts, and what are we looking for here tonight?
All you need to know about ECU is that a couple of games ago, they beat Central Florida by 3 touchdowns, a team that beat UC. So that tells you that East Carolina is a very capable team. Their quarterback is in his 18th year. At least it seems that way. Holton, 53rd star, took advantage of the COVID rules to come back for another year, and he's an excellent player. He once threw for 535 against Cincinnati, so Bearcat fans know what he's capable of, and they have the best running back in the league as well in Keaton Mitchell. So that's a great 1-2 punch. I don't think they've got necessarily great players on defense, but they have experienced players. A bunch of their guys are guys that have taken advantage of the COVID rule to come back for an extra year, so they've got 6-year players and 5-year players on defense, and they're a good team, and they've had 2 weeks to get ready for the game, so I expect it to be a nail-biter tonight.
Tell me, Dan, about we brought this up the other day. Do you think now that UC has a second loss, it's conceivable they could still play in a New Year's Day bowl? What's the term they use for that thing?
New Year's Six.
New Year's Six game. Okay, thank you. There's still a chance they could. So you're obviously trying to go out there and win. But we all go all the way back to the preseason, the whole debate about Ben Bryant and Evan Prater. We thought maybe we would start to see a little bit of Prater in certain situations, come out for a series here, series there. Do you think there's any chance we see this over the last couple of weeks?
There's a chance. They've talked about it seriously all season long. I've had many private conversations with Coach Fickle where he's talked about, it's in the game plan. We may do it this week. And they did it for one play at UCF. They did it for one play in the home game before that. So they've done it a tiny bit. But I think at this point, with 3 games left in the regular season, I wouldn't expect it to suddenly become 2 series, 3 series, anything like that. They might sprinkle it in, but I think they're pretty well established with what they plan to do this year.
How would you rate this season so far? I mean, the record is very, very good. I think a lot of people, it's safe to say, around here have gotten spoiled in a hurry. When you have Desmond Ridder and he piles up 44 wins and the program's rolling, you get to the college football playoff. You can't expect that every single year. But how would you rate this season so far?
A huge success, in my opinion, because I just think nobody has really taken into consideration what they lost. It's ridiculous. They lost 9 NFL draft picks, including the best quarterback in school history, including the front runner to be the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year in Sauce Gardner, who will be at the game tonight, by the way.
Wow.
Alec Pierce has been excellent when he's been healthy for the Indianapolis Colts. So when you lose like a talent like that, I mean, UC is in Alabama. They don't just reload with high NFL draft picks. I think it's been a big success, and I do believe that if they win their final 3 games, they'll definitely be in the American Championship game if they win their final 3. If they win that, I think Cincinnati would go back to a New Year's Six bowl. It would be the Cotton Bowl. That's where the group of 5 school that makes it through is going to go. So Cincinnati fans could be back in Dallas in early January.
Well, you can't beat that, being down there in that town that time of the year. Not guaranteed great weather, but certainly a lot of fun to be had. Incredible stadium, all those kinds of things. But a tough stretch here, Danny, down the stretch, beginning tonight. These next 3 weeks, they got to bring their A game.
Well, in weeks 1 and 3, definitely. Next week at Temple, maybe not so much.
Okay, that's fair.
Temple's still in rebuilding mode, although Kurt Warner's son is the quarterback and has displayed some talent. But certainly games 1 and 3 in this final stretch. ECU tonight, Tulane in the finale the day after Thanksgiving. Tulane plays UCF tomorrow. That's a big game from Cincinnati's perspective. And I think maybe some Bearcat fans look at it and say, It'd be good if Tulane lost. Then everybody in the conference would have a loss. But I actually think it would be better for Cincinnati if Tulane wins, because then UCF would have 2 losses. Cincinnati's still going to have to beat Tulane head-to-head.
Yep.
So if UCF loses tomorrow, Cincinnati beats Tulane head-to-head, and the Bearcats win out, then Cincinnati would have a chance to host the American Championship game again. And I don't see anybody beating Cincinnati at home in the league championship game.
All right, last thing I want to ask you, and I'm not asking you to put a grade or anything like that. We just went through grading every area of the Bengals season so far. Here they are in their bye week, same record as last year, blah, blah, blah. We know that. Schedule looks to be tougher second half than it was last year. How do you feel about the Bengals at 5-4?
I feel okay. The game that really sticks with me is the season opener. Think how much better we would be feeling about the Bengals season at this point if they had just won that game against the Steelers. They'd be tied for first. They would have a win in the division. 6-3 obviously would look a lot better than 5-4, even though it's only a 1-game difference. But they didn't. They, their long snapper got hurt. Joe Burrow is still feeling the effects of his appendectomy. He'll never throw 4 interceptions in a game again, I don't think. So that's the one game to me that really gnaws at me. Had they just managed to beat the Steelers in that game, I'd feel really good about where they stand at the bye.
Okay. All right. So the rest of your week, you've got the game tonight. You catch that rare weekend. UC basketball playing? They're not playing this weekend, are they?
Sunday at noon.
Ooh, who are they playing?
Sunday at noon. Eastern Kentucky.
Okay. At home, I assume.
At home, that's correct.
Okay. All right.
And Saturday, and now have you guys been talking about Isaiah Collier's appearance in town on Saturday?
We have not.
So Isaiah Collier is the #1 ranked high school basketball player in the country.
Yep.
Cincinnati is one of his final 4 schools. It's Cincinnati, USC, UCLA, and Michigan. Most of the experts seem to think that USC is the front runner, but for whatever reason, he's coming to town to play an exhibition high school basketball game at Sycamore High School tomorrow at 3:30. So I'm going to go check it out. I'll be dressed in Bearcat gear from head to toe in case he sees me in the stands and wants to know if people are supporting his possible decision to come to UC. But even if he doesn't, I always think it's cool to see guys who eventually become stars when they're in high school. And I don't know if that'll be the case for him or not, but there's certainly potential for that to be the case since he's the #1 ranked high school player in the country. So I'm going to sit in the stands, check out Isaiah Collier, keep my fingers crossed that I will someday get the opportunity to call one season of his games, because I think that's all he's likely to spend at the college level.
Well, with his college choices, and I don't follow the recruiting stuff much anymore, but based on his Final Four, I'm assuming this kid's a Southern California kid?
No, he's from Georgia.
You're kidding me.
The Atlanta area, Wheeler, Georgia is where he's from. He goes to Wheeler High School.
Why in the world has anybody asked him what has caught his attention about USC? UCLA and Michigan – and certainly Cincinnati, I understand. But USC? Yeah,
USC's making a splash in the recruiting world these days. A lot of this stuff is legal now in the NIL era. So I don't know what some of their boosters might be ponying up, but there's nothing wrong with it. If you've got people that want to do that for your school, more power to you.
And, of course, they are moving into the Big Ten. So, all of a sudden you're going to get a bunch of, although he may not be around by the time they move into the Big Ten. Like you said, he might be long
will not
gone.
be. He is definitely a one-and-done kind of guy.
Okay. All right. Well, Danny, have a great weekend, buddy. Thank you for your time as always.
My pleasure as always. Thanks for having me on, Tom.
All righty, buddy. Dan Horde. Boy, he always gets big-time pub from all the people that watch this show. The player formerly known as Mouse Cop says that kid's going to Michigan. Don says, gotta get him.
He's really good, Tom. He is really good.
Don also added, enjoy Luke Fickell while you can. Said because he will eventually leave. It's interesting.
Where would he go?
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. And look, we all know that the money talks and the BS walks, okay? So if for some reason, and I don't think they're going to make the move after 1 year, but let's just say Oklahoma, okay? Oklahoma, big-time program, incredible history, great success, moving into the Southeastern Conference. What if all of a sudden, they're like Brent Venables is saying it hasn't worked. We owe him a fortune. See you later. It's not going to happen. But I'm picking a team because of all the major powers out there. And I don't know Luke Fickell, but I know people who do know him, and they have shared with me that they thought, the three places that he would give serious consideration to would be naturally Ohio State. He would pick up and walk out the door tomorrow if that job opened, if he was offered it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's an Ohio State guy, and you couldn't blame him for it. It's what I always used to blow my mind all the time. God rest his soul, my old stat guy, Mark Daddy Wags Wagner. Most hardcore Xavier basketball fan in the world. He traveled with me every weekend doing football and baseball. And he would just rip up one side and down the other. Every Xavier basketball coach left for fill in the blank. And I'm like, Wags, the guy went to Virginia. Wags, the guy went to Ohio State. Wags, the guy went to Arizona. I'm like, come on. Come on, right? That's not a knock on X.
Yeah.
And so for UC fans to think it would be a knock on for Fickell to go somewhere else is ludicrous. It's not. It's ridiculous to think that way. It's just the way you do it. I think everybody understood that Brian Kelly left to go to Notre Dame. Who wouldn't leave to go to Notre Dame? Are you kidding? It's the biggest brand in college football. Bigger than Alabama, bigger than Ohio State, bigger than all of them. It's the way he did it. And Fickell wasn't going to do it last year. But I've heard Ohio State. I've heard Penn State. I don't know if that's true or not. And I've heard Notre Dame. Now, Marcus Freeman's not going anywhere, I don't think, for a while. And I still can't believe that Penn State gave Franklin that kind of contract.
UC making the playoff last year was huge for the program and for two reasons. One, for making the playoff, and two, because if they're not in that, there's a good chance he leaves because he said he didn't want to leave with the playoff going on. And Notre Dame wanted to hire a coach.
Well, that's what I'm
before.
saying.
Yeah.
He's not going. It's the way you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with Kelly, who's done it twice. This has been, without a doubt, and Don points out, the greatest era in the history of UC football. There's no doubt about that. Jolly says, hey, look, everybody knows he'd go to Ohio State, but with the Big 12 next year, new TV deal for the schools coming in, a lot more money coming into UC next year. They just signed that deal. Fox did with the Big 12. Huge money, even with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. So, there are a lot of positives to staying at Cincinnati. If you believe ultimately you can win the whole thing there, the whole thing, and they got to within one game of playing for the whole enchilada last year, and now you're going into the Big 12, which should improve recruiting, all those kinds of things. I don't know, fellas. I don't know. If you had to make a prediction right now, and we'll save this in the archives, if you had to make a prediction right now, Luke Fickell is still the head football coach at UC in 3 years from now, yay or nay?
Yes.
Yes? Case?
I'm going to say nay.
I think he wants to give the Big 12 a shot.
Yeah.
I think going to the Big 12 is going to buy him more time at UC. Not buy him more time like he's going to get fired. Buy him more time as in he'll buy in longer at UC being in the Big 12.
For 3 years?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We've got picks today, boys.
We have picks.
We have picks, and there are some big-time games this weekend. Big-time games. And when I say big-time games, I'm really more emphasizing there the college game. Because as we know, we talked about this at length, when you only have 4 teams that qualify for the college football playoff. And I tell you, one of the coolest things to do, if you got some time to kill, and you follow college football and you like playing that game of what if this happens and what if this happens and that team wins and that team loses and blah, blah, blah. That playoff, what do they call it, indicator on ESPN, have you seen that thing? You can go to all the different scenarios and start punching in, win, loss, win, all at the same time for teams as they play week by week.
Oh, it's the best.
It's the best. It really is cool to check it out. And it's all based on analytics and what the percentages would be then if this, we mentioned it yesterday, if Oregon were to win out and win the Pac-12 championship, that it would be a 70% chance that Oregon would be in the college football playoff. And so you start playing some games like that. You can do the same thing with USC or UCLA because, they're sitting there at one loss. You got, LSU. If the Tigers run the table, including the SEC championship win over Georgia, there's no way you're keeping them out. They'd be the first two-loss team in the brief history, of the college football playoff going back to 2014. I mean, if they beat Alabama, run the table basically on the west side of that conference and beat the number one team in the country in the SEC championship game, best conference in football, LSU's in.
I think they lose this week to Arkansas.
You think LSU loses to Arkansas?
Yep.
Well, that's not one of our picks.
It's not. I was nervous it was going to be, but I was gonna put it on the line there, but it's not one of our picks.
You're saying they're going to lose straight out?
Yes.
Is LSU a favorite in that game?
3.5 points. That's way too close of a line.
And I'm assuming the game is at Arkansas?
Yes.
Okay. How are your picks doing on Not Too Picky?
Pretty good.
What's that mean?
I was 4-1 2 weeks ago in college and 7-2 overall last week. We're doing pretty good.
Okay. We'll file that away. We'll talk about that one on Monday. So you're saying
I'm
going to put money where your mouth is. Don't tell me I'm staying away from the game.
No. I'm taking Arkansas plus 3.5. But I do think that I think the way that this game is being bet and the way that Arkansas has sucked, LSU has been great. I think this is setting up for a game that LSU could lose.
Okay. All right. But you're not betting the money line on
No, I'll
Arkansas.
take the points. I'll
Okay,
gladly take the points.
They're going to win. Do you think Arkansas is going to win the game?
Are you going to talk me into a money line bet?
No,
here, Tom?
I'm asking you a question.
I think I might be getting convinced here.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just asking a simple question. Are you going to pick on the money line a straight up win for Arkansas?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to do it.
Okay. All right. Are you old enough to gamble? All right, when we come back, it's pick time. All right? We want to hear from everybody that's on the chat right now. Once we start going through these picks, so we're going to take a timeout, and then we come back, our college picks for the weekend, our NFL picks for the weekend, right around the corner. Stay with us.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Swinney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Swinney, the original used car superstore.
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. If it's your first time with us, here's the way this works. Every Friday, we pick a number of college games, number of pro games, and the person with the best record at the end of the season will have $1,000 donated to their charity of choice. And here's where we stand. Our picks. Paul, who has now probably had more weeks in the saddle than Brandon. Is that fair, Paul?
I'd say, yeah. If not, we're even.
Okay. So
it's close.
That's a lead. Casey 1 back. I'm 4 back. All right, boys. Let's start it up. Where are we starting? We starting with UC tonight?
No, we're starting with Indiana and Ohio State.
The Buckeyes have not been running the ball well lately. Mayan Williams missed a game. They, for whatever reason, they're just not running it well. Now, they played in terrible weather conditions last week. Their offense looked invincible up until a week ago, and then all of a sudden they were met with the challenge of being forced to run it, and they could not run it. But I'm not worried about it moving forward. That's a 40-point spread. I think Ohio State is going to lay it on them. I'm taking the Bucks, giving a whopping 40.
Yeah, I'm just not going to bet against OSU. Just not going to do it, so I got to go OSU.
Look, full transparency here. You guys both picked Ohio State, and I was not going to lose a game in the standings on picking Indiana when you guys were both on Ohio State. This is just too whack of a game. 40 points, though, I do think.
Yeah.
I do think Ohio State can get there.
Well, I think they can get there, but that's a big number. And Ryan Day does not like running it up on people. They've had games this year where they've scored 50-plus points, but every time it seems like when they have one of these kinds of games, they take the starters out middle of the third quarter. And then Kyle McCord is a quarterback who I think's got a chance to be a really good player next year, but he just turns around and hands it off every play. So, oh well.
All right. TCU, Texas.
This is the big one for the weekend. There's no doubt about it. TCU breaks into the top 4 in the college football playoff rankings for the first time, and wouldn't you know it, the second they get in there, they're rolling into Austin, Texas. The Longhorns like the way the program is going. Quinn Ewers, the quarterback, but I just think there's something about this TCU team. I cannot believe they are a 7-point underdog to a 3-loss Texas team. I am taking TCU.
Yeah, and I am too. I'm taking TCU. I was surprised. I know the system play at Chatterbox here is Texas, but I'm going with the momentum. I'm going with TCU.
They've got the mojo. You're predicting the mojo's ending, Paul. I can see by that look in your eye.
I think Texas wins big.
Big?
I think Texas could win by 2 touchdowns.
What metric are you using? What makes you think that?
TCU has played a lot of close games to me where it feels like you look at that West Virginia game. They won by 10, but that was because of a fluke 4th down play at the end where they really should have won by 3. I think some of the score lines for TCU, if you just look at it and you're not watching TCU, have been a little deceiving. They've been a beneficiary of some injuries to opposing quarterbacks through the season. I think they've been catching enough breaks that eventually it's going to catch up to them. If they get past Texas here, if TCU wins this game, I think this is their test. I think they got to win this game. This is to me the game that's going to decide whether they get in the playoff or not. And I don't think they pass the test this week.
Well, they have a very tough game next week too. Their biggest rival is Baylor, and they go down to Baylor, who's starting to put it together. Everybody thought they were going to be really good when the season started. They're also a 6-3 team. But, look, you can't have it both ways when you talk about TCU. You can't have it both ways here, okay? Everybody talks about all their come-from-behind wins, right? They fall behind early. Oh, that worries me. They fall behind. Well, that's true. They do fall behind early. But you can't dismiss that in the second half they are dominating opponents. And in the fourth quarter, they've outscored teams something crazy, like 180-50. So, and it's not like they're playing a bunch of stiffs. They're playing good, solid, not great. They're playing good, solid teams every single week in that Big 12. That's why I think UC's got its work cut out for them moving in. But that's a different debate for a different time. Okay, we'll see.
Washington and Oregon.
Now, this is a number where I'm going with the Huskies. I think Michael Penix Jr. Is a really good player. He's a dynamic player. The quarterback of the Huskies, they're starting to play very well. That 7-2 record. Obviously, huge college football playoff implications on the line for Oregon. I think that 13-point spread, even at home, is too big. I'm taking Washington.
Yeah, I'm taking Oregon too. The 13-point spread is tough to.
Wait. You're taking who?
Washington.
Oh, okay. You said Oregon. I was just making sure.
Okay.
No, I'm taking Washington because Oregon's point spread here minus 13. I just can't see it.
Okay.
I think it'll be a close game.
Group bet. I'm on Washington too.
Really?
Yep. I like Oregon, but I think this could be like a 10-point Oregon win. I could see Washington squeaking in the back door here. I think 13 points is, I'm gonna go with Washington.
I want to check something here on Washington because I really don't pay attention. It's well documented. I don't pay a lot of attention to Pac-12 football. They lost to UCLA by 8, 40-32. They score a lot. They give up a lot. They lost to Arizona State, which was a total fluke, 45-38. They have had scoring games this year. 45, 52, 39, 40, 40, 45, 49. Now, the last 2 weeks, it's interesting. They've won 3 in a row. They beat Cal 28-21. And then they beat 23rd ranked Oregon State 24-21. So, for whatever reason, maybe it was just the matchups, they were scoring a ton early, giving up a ton early. Now, all of a sudden, they're not scoring as much, but they're not giving up as much. What in the world is the deal with this computer? Something wrong with our internet in here?
Uh-oh.
No,
I don't think so.
All right. I'm trying to figure out. I wanted to take a little bit closer look at Oregon here, but that's okay. We'll close out of that. Okay, what's next?
We have a big one. Big-time matchup, Tom.
Is that 30 or 38?
30.
30 and a half.
I'm taking Michigan. Because there is a team that will run it up on people.
Okay.
And I'm not suggesting they've done that all the time. Last week was a really weird game. I mean, that's a tight game against Indiana. Then all of a sudden, Michigan it was like that Ohio State-Penn State game in the fourth quarter when Ohio State scored 28 points in the last 10 minutes of the game. I mean, that's what happened with Michigan last week. They can score. Their defense is excellent. They're at home. Big-time college football playoff implications. Everybody, the two trains rolling down the track. And there's only one track. And that's Ohio State v. Michigan. They roll this week.
Yeah, Nebraska is kind of miserable.
Kinda?
Kinda.
Casey.
Got to take Michigan.
Yep.
A 30-point spread is not anything close to a 40-point spread. So, at the college level.
Yeah, I'm going to take Michigan here too. I'm not going to be on the wrong side of you guys being a 30.5-point spread. All right.
Everybody, by the way, so you're picking what, Paul?
I'm picking Michigan.
By the way, we're getting some comments here on some of our picks, and I like to really interesting point made here, getting back to the TCU-Texas game a minute here. Jolly, I forgot all about this. This is a great point. Gary Patterson, the longtime head coach at TCU. There's a statue of Gary Patterson outside of the stadium, Amon Carter Stadium in Fort Worth. What he did for that program was incredible. In his 20 years as a head coach, got fired last year. Bring in Sonny Dykes. He's undefeated. Gary Patterson is on the Texas staff. Now, I don't know if that means anything. He's an analyst for the team. That's interesting. Bill C says Oregon by 17. Said Bo Nix is playing the best ball of his career. That's true. And predicts Jolly does that Penix throws 3 touchdowns. Sir Boy Wonder chimes in. Says your Final Four is Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, and Oregon.
I don't have much argument with that.
Sir Boy Wonder. Texas wins. Sorry, Tom, but Quinn Ewers is a difference. He might be right. I don't think so. I think Max Duggan is a more experienced player, and he's having a phenomenal year. All right, what's next?
Last college game before we go to the NFL.
Last one. Tonight, Bearcats at home.
What do you got? Oh. UC.
Got it going on.
All right. Casey?
Yeah, I've been making good on betting against UC, and that's not going to stop me from betting against them again. So, ECU.
Wow. 4.5-point spread. Paul, I assume you'll be at the Xavier basketball game tonight and not at the UC football game?
Yes, I will be at Cintas Center tonight, but I'm going to pick ECU in this one.
All right, before we get to the pro game, I do want to ask, because, the large primary viewers and downloaders are, within a 90-mile radius of Cincinnati. But there are others nationally. We know that. And we thank you for watching. One high school football game I want to ask for your guys' prediction tonight.
Okay.
Because there are great games all over the state. We're getting down to the regional semis now and all that kind of thing, right? You got all the powers, right? I mean, you got Wyoming, you got Baden, you got Winton Woods. In D1, you got Moeller's playing Mason. But I think the game that holds the most intrigue tonight is Lakota West at Elder. Lakota West is undefeated. I mean, Tom Bolden's been building this thing. Can they finally get over that hump? Elder's had an excellent year, and they're playing the Pit. That place will be rocking tonight. No doubt. You guys have seen a lot of high school football this year, including Lakota West. What do you think? Who are you picking to win that game?
We had Lakota West twice this year. We had Elder once. The one Elder game that we had was probably a bad representation of Elder because that was the Moeller game where they had all those turnovers at Nippert. Because this is at Elder, it's making me second-guess this. I'm going to take West in this, but I think it's going to be a really good game, and I wouldn't be shocked if Elder won.
Case?
I'm going to take West as well.
Okay. All right.
I'm really just taking Tom Bolden there.
Ramsey's the coach at Elder, right?
Thanks.
He's been around there a long time.
Yeah.
Won a pile of games. A lot of big games. State championships. Yeah, I really want to see. I like seeing, I didn't grow up going to Catholic schools, none of that kind of thing. I love seeing when it comes down to the public school against the private school with a state Final Four bid on the line. I don't want to see Moeller Elder next week. They're tired. Let's see Moeller v. Lakota West. And some who would make the same argument I just made might say, well, what's wrong with Mason against Elder? So that's fine too. But that's what I want to see. I don't want to see the GCL South playing each other with a trip to the Final Four on the line. I don't want to see it. Maybe you root for it, being a Xavier guy. Right?
I probably would. But, hey, I picked West.
Okay. All right, we're off to the pro.
All right.
The National Football League. We begin in Berlin. Just outside of Berlin, you said, right, Case? They're playing in some soccer stadium?
Yeah, I think it's in Munich.
Oh, Munich. Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, Munich. It will be the Seahawks, who are playing so well, surprisingly well. Geno Smith at quarterback. What a year he's having. Against the Buccaneers, who right now are in first place in the NFC worst. That'd be the NFC South, where you can have a 4-5 record and be in first place. So, with that in mind, I still think Tom Brady goes across the pond, as they say, a couple of them. And I think that Brady and the Bucs come away by covering the 2.5. Bucks. Fellas?
Yeah, I think game script wise, it'll come down to them being tied. Tom Brady takes the ball down. Final minute, they kick a field goal, win the game. Good game for the Munich fan base and for NFL.
Yeah, you're finally getting to see. You're finally putting an international game with some good names over there, right? Taking the Bucks. I'm with you guys. We have a bunch of these that we're all on together.
We are.
Maybe not so much this one, though.
Sir Boy Wonder says, Tom, I like your new specs. Well, if you like them, Sir Boy Wonder, you can get them at Walgreens for about $4. Maybe a little more than that. Okay, we all go. I'm surprised. We're all going with the Bucks here. I'm really surprised. I don't understand Tomas here. He says, I mean, all those private schools run the table every year like it's a college football playoff with Bama, Clemson, and Georgia. That's not true. That's not true at all. Didn't Winton Woods win a state championship last year?
Did they?
They did.
I don't remember.
Is Wyoming not a public school? Number 1 ranked team. So, hang on. Okay, next up.
Minnesota and Buffalo.
Now, this is an interesting game. Are we going to have a caveat to this pick? Meaning if Josh Allen plays or not?
I'm picking mine regardless, but you guys can do what you want.
I'm
sticking with mine.
This is tough because I think if Josh Allen plays, he's playing hurt. So what does it matter, right? I mean, I'm not making a caveat, but we can do one for you if you want.
No. I don't want to make one. I don't think that Kirk Cousins has proven to me. It's not to say he can't do it, but he is not proven, at least to me. I know he got the Redskins, formerly the Redskins, to the playoffs. But this is a kind of game to me that reeks of a Cousins 2 or 3 pick game. I think Buffalo wins and covers at home minus 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, even if Josh Allen plays, I think he's playing hurt. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. He's been kind of off his game as of late. I'm taking the Vikings. I think this is the Vikings game that they move up to a good team on my stink list.
Okay.
Wow. I'm a simple man, Tom. I see Kirk Cousins at 1 p.m. I bet Kirk Cousins at 1 p.m.
Wow.
I'm taking the Vikings.
Holy Moses. All right, we're going to take a break because I had too much coffee this morning. And when you get to be 59, when you got to go now. We're back in a moment with the rest of our picks.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Swinney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Swinney, the original used car superstore.
Does that mean we're back? Yeah. Okay, we're back. On Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Boy, guess who's back today, fellas?
Who?
Leif Erikson, the Viking.
Well, he likes my Kirk Cousins pick, I bet.
He sure does. He says, Tom, you're wrong. KC understands. Sir Boy Wonder says that UC covers. And yes, sir, 1 p.m., Kirk is undefeated. And Sir Boy Wonder must be one of those parochial school guys throwing through. He says Big Mo v. Elder next week.
All right, we have some picks.
All right, we got a few more NFL picks here.
4 left. Browns and Dolphins.
Brownies in Miami. Miami's playing really well.
This is a hilarious pick.
Why do you think this spread be so small? I think this is a small spread.
I do too. I thought this would have been 5 or 6.
Yeah, I do too. Therefore, for me, it's a no-brainer. And, of course, I'll probably be wrong. I'm going to take Miami. I just can't imagine anybody picking Cleveland here. But maybe you guys will surprise me.
Yeah, and I'm going to surprise you and pick Cleveland.
And what is your reasoning behind that? Because you are the guy. Let's make no mistake about it. You are the guy going back to before the Browns absolutely pulverized, demolished, embarrassed, just humiliated your beloved Cincinnati Bengals. You said the Browns stink for multiple weeks now.
Yep.
Yet here you are.
They still stink.
And you think they're going to go down there and cover, or do you think they're going to win? I mean, you're picking them to cover, but do you think they're going to win the game?
I don't know if they'll win. I definitely think they'll cover. I think it's going to be a close game. They don't match up very well against the Browns, kind of similar to the Bengals. And I predict something very similar. Could happen, but Browns still stink. Let's just get that out of the way. I just think that they'll cover. I don't know if they'll win, but I think they'll cover.
Okay.
Tom, I'm with you on this one. Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, Casey, God bless you. I mean, you got a better record than I do, so I can't sit there and beat you down. But I will shave a game off that one for the lead. Boy, you talk about a game. Who's televising this game? Is this Fox?
Saints and Steelers. It's
in the old days, it used to be automatic Fox with an NFC team going to an AFC team, but that's not necessarily true anymore.
It is Fox.
Yeah. Saints at Steelers. Now, it should be noted here that, the Steelers are going to start to get a little bit healthier now with TJ Watt, right? And, more games under Kenny Pickett's belt. The Saints are 3-6, but they're only one game out of first place. So, they got a lot to play for. With that in mind, I am taking – who did I take?
You took Pittsburgh.
I did.
You did.
Men of Aluminum. I'm taking the Men of Aluminum. Is that Andy Dalton still the quarterback for the Fighting Saints?
Yeah, is Andy starting this weekend?
I could not tell you if he is
I'd like to be able to tell you, but for some reason, I don't know what's going on with this computer.
This is great radio here, Tom.
It's okay.
We're
in no hurry here.
Powering through. Andy Dalton will remain the starting quarterback. Yeah, it's going to be Andy.
Okay. I'm taking the Men of Aluminum. Who are you guys taking?
This is pretty much a pick 'em, right? So I'm taking the Saints. I think they're a better team. If they lose to Pittsburgh, then they stink. Both teams stink, but
yeah,
I'm high on the Saints stink list. I have them as almost a borderline stink team. I think they're a quarterback away. Maybe Andy Dalton can win against Pittsburgh for once. I don't know, but we'll see. I got the Saints on this one.
The Red Rifle.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Look, I root for Pittsburgh to get beat every week. So, I'd be okay if I lose that game and the Saints won that game. I'm okay with that.
All right. Cowboys and Packers.
I did one of these games a few years ago when Joe Buck would go off and do the World Series, and I'd step in there and work with Troy Aikman, and 4:25 in the afternoon. This time of the year it gets dark early, lights on, Lambeau. This has tremendous sex appeal, but not so much this year. But can Aaron Rodgers find a way to get it together? He was very nostalgic this week, reminiscing about his old coach, Mike McCarthy, now the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys got Dak rolling in. They get Ezekiel Elliott back this week. Pollard's playing well. A lot of talk about Odell Beckham Jr. becoming a Cowboy. Who did I pick?
You picked the Cowboys.
You picked Dallas.
I'm taking Dallas.
I am too. Give me the Cowboys. Packers stink. Good team should be able to beat them sure-handedly.
Paul?
Going with the Pack at home.
You know what? I get it.
I think this is a rat line here. I think they want you to take Dallas, and maybe that'll be the right pick.
Where's the money going in that game?
I haven't looked yet, and I'll check right now because this one seems just like a weird line to me.
It's fishy.
I think there's something fishy about this one.
Yeah, I agree with you because there's a lot to be said for playing at Lambeau.
It's just about 50-50.
Really?
Yeah, and it's slight edge to Green Bay, 53-47. But the bets, 2/3 on Dallas, so the big money is on Green Bay.
Big money's on who?
Well, more bets are on Dallas, but more money is on Green Bay.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
okay.
You would say some of the – that's how you would read that.
Is that our last game?
No, one more.
We got one
more.
more,
and then we're out of here.
Okay. We have this is a good game.
We're all the same.
I think this is a Sunday night game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good game. The Chargers quietly have started to put things together, and they've gone through some brutal injuries along their offensive line, along the defensive line, and yet they're finding a way, to start winning games in a tough division. So the Chargers, that line, I'm really surprised it's that big. I know Herbert has not proven to anybody that he can win a big game, especially on the road. I think this is a big game for both teams. And my pick is? I can't remember any of this stuff.
The Chargers.
Chargers.
It's the spread.
You know what?
Oh.
I'm changing.
Oh.
I'm changing.
Oh.
I did it very quickly this morning. I got a little bit late start today. I'm trying to bang out the monologue. Casey's barking in my ear about who I'm picking. I'm flipping. Put me into San Francisco category. Thank you. Guys?
Well,
This could be a disaster now. Oh, no.
Because I was struggling.
So was I.
I was struggling between
no.
the San Francisco Chargers pick because I have San Francisco as a borderline good team.
Oh, God. Are you switching too?
That's a big number, though.
It's a big number.
Oh, I see. He's trying to talk you into staying.
No, I got to take 49ers, man.
Oh, my God.
I got to change. Got to blow it up.
All right.
Am I the only one with any morality in this room? I'm sticking with my original pick, the Chargers.
Okay, you'll probably be right because generally your gut turns out to be right on most of this stuff, or at least they used to say that on the SAT. So obviously my gut was not very good because the scores weren't very good. All right, do we have a cherry on top, men? Before we get to boxed lunch today with Trace and Reed.
Do we have it? I think we do.
Yeah.
We do.
Oh, we do. We do. I forgot we put this in there.
Anybody want to tee this up?
Yeah, so have you heard of Mattress Mac?
Of course.
Okay, well, this is Mattress Mac collecting his $75 million in cold hard cash.
Hang on. For those who don't know who this guy is, please fill in the blank.
Okay, so Mattress Mac is a mattress store owner down in Houston who runs promotions for his business, and he hedges those promotions by betting on the Astros to win the World Series. So basically he says if the Astros win, you get such and such discount. He's done it for years. And so this year he won the largest sports bet in the history of sports betting, $75 million, and he got paid out in cold hard cash. Here it is.
And this is him collecting.
Yep.
Look at that.
Heavy. I'm gonna get checked. There it is.
You have got to be kidding me.
Where are we putting it at? All in the back.
You have got to be kidding.
Isn't that awesome?
That's $75 million. Is that one trip or were there more trips? Had to be more trips. Because they're not giving him denominations of what? What's the largest bill you can get?
100.
100, I guess.
100.
Not a $1,000 bill?
No. There used to be.
Yeah, I thought there used to be.
Not anymore.
So there's no way that well, maybe it is. Look at him. And hey, he ain't getting on Delta. He's not getting on American. He's not getting on Southwest. He's getting on Mattress Max Airlines. You're carrying $75 million. You ain't checking bags.
That's no ham and egger.
At the Vegas airport. Right?
No way.
That's like Ocean's 11 stuff right there.
It is.
Which, by the way, before we get out of here, that's probably presented by UDF, our cherry on top. Before we get out of here, my wife and I were talking about, we haven't gone to a movie in a long time. Has anybody heard anything about this new George Clooney movie with Julia Roberts? I like George Clooney. I think most of the stuff that he's in, and Julia Roberts, crazy about her. Everything she's in, she's great. You guys know anything about it? Probably not, right?
No, I haven't heard.
Ticket to Paradise?
I have no idea what it is.
Ticket to Paradise. You're right, Reed. Never heard of it.
Okay. Well, what about you two guys? You know anything about it, Reed?
I know nothing about Ticket to Paradise. I know George Clooney's a Northern Kentucky native.
Yes, he is. Maysville.
He tried out for the Cincinnati Reds. He tells this story about when he tried out for the Reds, showed up, thought he was this great ball player. And the first fly ball they hit to him, he's an outfielder. He drops, and he just hears someone get on a megaphone, just go, "That'll be enough." Leaves. Tells a good story about that. But know nothing about the movie.
Jolly, you're not so jolly, and you're not very funny. Says the last movie Tom saw was Chariots of Fire.
Oh, no, Tom. Don't stand for that, Tom.
That's a shot, Jolly.
That's not right. Are you a fan of the Ocean movies? Ocean's 11?
I love them. I just watched them with my son.
They're good.
Yeah, they're great.
You know Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 13?
We saw them both.
Which do you like more?
I'm having a hard time. I like the one when they went after Andy Garcia more
that's
than
the first one.
Yeah, that's 11, right? More than going after Pacino.
Yeah, Pacino.
Yeah. What'd you think?
It's sad that I haven't seen either one of those.
I like Ocean's 13 more. I like Ocean's 13.
They're both great.
I feel like that's up my alley, though. I like that.
They're really. You haven't seen those?
I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Well,
Tom.
you got
kind of bad.
and I don't either, but I got to tell you, and I love movies. I used to go as a kid all the time, but you got to watch those movies.
Have you been to the movie theaters where They serve you food and stuff. That's a nice little date.
It's a great experience. Yeah. And the seats are phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It's like a recliner in your living room.
Yeah.
It's big league, the way they're running those places.
Get a cocktail. They wait on you.
I did just put on the old Netflix last night and was digging around and started this series of FIFA, the corruption scandal.
Oh, yeah. I heard it's really good.
Yeah. I was locked in for about a show and a half until I realized I needed to go to bed.
Well, there's major league corruption in some of those. When you start getting into the international stuff, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we think like the NCAA's got some problems. No. You start getting into that kind of thing, it's a whole different animal, man.
It was kind of wild.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. You can clearly see why human beings would act the way that they were acting inside that show.
Jolly, that's just a cheap shot. I mean, really, that's just brutal. Chariots of fire. All right, what do we got going on today, fellas? Box lunch. First, I guess I'm getting graded as we do a couple of times a week. Please, commence.
Well, I don't have anything for you personally. To be fair, we were out there doing some work. I didn't get to see all the show. I did catch Casey saying that the special teams were an F, which is just a wild take. And I'll tell you why I think it's a wild take. It's an ungrateful take, Tom. It's very ungrateful. I've been saying this for a while, and I'm not trying to rain on the parades of Bengals fans. Okay, I'm not here to do that. But I will say, if it was an average kicker on your team last year, or just a normal kicker, whatever you want to call it, whatever term you'd like to use, not a superstar, not maybe Jesus kicking for you, there's a very good chance you never even see the light of day to go to Kansas City to play, and you definitely don't go to the Super Bowl.
For sure.
That was last year. This is this year.
But I just want to say that's the same guys. At some point, you got to give them a little bit of room, a little bit of breathing room. You got to be like, okay, these guys, the offensive line's new. I'm cool with you getting on the offensive line. But at least allow the kicking portion of this, especially McPherson, a little bit of time to breathe. I will say, though, I was joking with the guys out there. I'm not trying to wish this upon him. But there is this weird thing with special teamers, especially kickers, to where they can be really, really good, and all of a sudden one thing that bad happens and he hasn't made a kick in 2 weeks. I'm hopeful that the next big kick that he has, he makes. Because if he doesn't,
there's
something a little Chuck Knoblocky about it.
Evan McPherson batting 1,000 on 50-plus yard kicks this year. So he's missed some 40-yarders, but he's still got the boot on him. Still got some leg on him.
Well, he's got the leg, but everybody keeps falling back. Zim Hude keeps blaming all the time, and I love Zim Hude, but he keeps talking about the long snap.
Yeah, you don't blame it on the hold.
Give me a break. And by the way, he's down on you.
What?
The Grim Reaper, he called you.
Well, I'm not, like I said.
You went back on his show again, or on his chat site, and got on him again?
Spaces.
You doubled down?
Spaces, Tom. Yeah, Spaces on Twitter. I go in there, and I just let them know what they need to be ready for to come the weekend. Because, like I said, sometimes there's blinders on.
There's no doubt.
And if I was a Bengals fan, though, I'd be pleasantly pleased with where we're at based off of the way things started. It was pretty bad.
Well, they've been 5-2 after 0-2.
Right. I mean, I'd live with that.
Beats starting out 3-1 and have lost every game since.
That's right.
Like your old Packers.
I got to be honest.
Like your old Packers.
Got a little hope this week for the Packers. Not going to get my hopes too high, but I got a little hope for them.
Are we doing this spin thing before I get out of here?
We are.
So for those of you that don't know, Casey is looking for a college basketball team to follow this year. So the other day we spun the wheel for what conference, and we took out blue bloods of college basketball, except for North Carolina. We did that just for my dad, being a North Carolina alum and a regular of the program. So Carolina is very much in the mix. But we took out, who did we take out? We took out Duke.
Just Duke. We left North Carolina in.
No, but I'm saying from the very beginning we left out.
Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, and Michigan State.
Okay, Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State.
Isn't it funny how Michigan State gets mixed into that?
Champions Classic, okay. That's what I went with.
All right, so now after spinning the wheel for which conference his team would come out of, and it wound up being the Atlantic Coast Conference, today we spin the wheel for which team he will follow this year. Now, Paul, before we actually spin it, it's safe to say there are some definite teams he is hoping don't show up.
Yeah, you're not going to want to end up here, at least for this season, you're not going to want to end up with Louisville. You're not going to want to end up with Clemson or Georgia Tech.
Or Pitt.
Or Florida State, really, or Pitt. You got about a 50-50 shot here, Casey, of having a respectable season.
You know what,
That's
Wake?
good.
How's
Casey,
this work?
I don't
Does
think you
Casey
want
get to
NC
trade his
State.
team in at the end of the year, or what does this look like?
That's a good question.
Well, we need to know the answer.
It's a trial period.
Casey, can you name all of those schools' mascots?
Can I name them?
Yeah, like can you go if we gave you all these ACC teams? Can you name their mascot?
Florida. No, Googling right now. Let's do it.
I'm not Googling.
Ready? Virginia.
No idea.
Virginia Tech.
No idea.
I just lost my.
0-2.
What is
So
it? Boston College.
Is the Eagles or
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yep.
And you got to have Notre Dame, right? You know
Notre
that.
Dame is the Leprechauns, right?
Oh no!
Oh, no!
Oh my
You
God.
Casey.
You did not just say that.
They're
Casey.
Fighting Irish.
You did
The
not
Fighting
just
Irish.
say
Yeah.
It's a
that.
leprechaun. It's the
I'm glad
Fighting
I asked
Irish,
this.
but it's
I'm
the
glad I
leprechaun.
asked this.
He's a little leprechaun.
All right, let's keep it moving for Casey's sake. What's after Notre Dame on the wheel? I can't see it. Paul, take over.
Just spin the wheel.
No. We
No, this is fun.
UNC Tar Heels.
Oh, my God.
Pittsburgh.
I'm the leprechauns.
Pittsburgh is Panthers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Louisville.
Cardinals.
Okay.
Syracuse.
And
Casey,
Orange.
put your face on the TV right now while you say these, please.
Casey. Oh my God.
Well, we'd still need those ACC teams up.
So-
I'll
He's
just-
got him.
Syracuse,
Paul,
Orange.
let him rip.
Yeah, Wake Forest.
Isn't it like one of those weird?
If you just don't know, say don't know.
I don't know.
The Demon Deacons.
Demon Deacons.
Did you do Miami?
I did not, but they're like
Oh my gosh.
Miami's like the.
What's going on in Florida right
it's
now?
a hurricane. I know they're the
All right,
Hurricanes, but isn't it something else? Like
No,
are
it's
they-
a
No,
just
no.
the Hurricanes?
Hurricane.
Okay.
No. Okay, that's it. All right.
Okay.
All right,
and
spin
then
it.
NC State? I thought we did NC State. What's NC State?
It's like a wolf, right? I don't know.
There you
It's like-
go.
it's
That's
like a
close
wolf.
enough.
Florida,
Like
the
the
Florida,
wolf. I knew
Florida
like
State.
half
We did
of
not
them.
ask. Florida State.
Seminoles.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I knew
Nice.
like half of those.
Bat
guys.
about 500.
Nice. He
Sure.
he doesn't know his leprechauns, but he knows his Indian tribe.
Listen.
Unbelievable.
Listen, Notre Dame.
Unbelievable,
is
this
a
guy.
leprechaun, but it's
I
the Fighting
mean,
Irish.
Casey, these last 2 days, brother. I
You
gotta
need the
tell
weekend.
you, if there's somebody who ought to go have a lot of Miller High Lifes and try to wash away the last 48 hours, it might
Oh,
be
man.
you at the top of that list. All right.
All right, let's
spin
spin the
it.
wheel. I'm praying to God Notre Dame lands this.
Wait a minute. Hold on. If
But
Notre Dame comes up, Casey, will you agree to show up one day next week? We got to give you a little bit of time to get this together. But will you show up one day next week dressed as a leprechaun?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
All right, this is
Reverse.
removal. This is
So this is
removal.
removal.
This is going to take some spins. We're going to remove one by one. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
This is gonna take a while.
That's gonna take
One
a
by
while.
one.
Okay, we can do.
Tom
It'll
wants to
be
be out
time
of-
for Off the Bench Monday.
That's right.
We're not giving them Georgia Tech or Clemson. Get those out of here.
All right, get them out. Get rid of both of them. Get rid of Georgia Tech.
All right, hang on.
Get them out.
So Georgia Tech and Clemson, we're just getting rid of.
We're getting rid of.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Spin it.
Here we go.
All right.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Oh no. Okay. Wow.
There you go.
Bye-bye, Tar Heels.
That's
What a
tough.
shame
See you,
that
Tar
is.
Heels.
If you're taking the Tar Heels off, take Pitt
He's
off.
like, let's get out of here.
Take
Yeah,
Pitt
take
off.
Pitt off.
All right.
Get Pitt out of here.
Get Pitt out of here. We don't want
All
the
right.
Panthers.
All
They're
right.
terrible.
All right, here we go.
Boom Shakalaka said the Bluffton Beavers should be up there, and darn right they should.
Oh, Tech. All right.
Oh man.
All right. Who
they're
else? Pick
gone.
another one to get rid of, Tom.
Boston
Get rid
College.
of them and Wake.
All right.
Okay.
And Wake.
And
No,
Wake.
get rid of Boston College.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Boston
agree.
College.
Get rid of
All right.
Boston College.
Here we
Boston
go.
College
Nobody
doesn't
wants to
even
root
care
We're
for
about
starting to
Boston.
get down to some decent options here.
Yeah, we got some decent ones, although Carolina off the board hurts. The Orange.
Oh no, that's
Florida State.
State.
All right. Pick another
all
one,
right,
Tom.
that's good.
Pick another one,
Florida
Tom.
State's off the board, and That means we take
Wake, right? Wake, right?
Wake off the board.
Tim Duncan's going to.
All right, here we go.
Chris Paul
Down to 6.
Down to 6.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That's the best team.
No.
Cavaliers are gone. Spin again. Get them off.
Casey's
Still in. Let's go. Spin it up.
Casey.
You're
going to be watching some bad.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
all
this
right.
is good.
All right.
You
Good.
caught a
This
break
is good.
there. Louisville off the board. I mean, you're down to.
It's going to have the leprechauns in there now.
This won't be the Final Four in the ACC tournament. I can tell you that. Oh,
baby. Oh, no.
I won't lie. I was kind of hoping for Syracuse.
We were too.
The Fighting Leprechauns are still in.
They're in there.
Here we go.
Oh, baby.
Oh, no.
That's tough.
I think that's the winner, right?
So whatever it lands on.
Now, which one does he genuinely want here?
I don't.
How do we know who wins?
I think you got to take.
It pops up and tells you.
Don't you?
Can you change the color of one of them?
Yeah, I was trying to.
I mean,
it's going to tell you after it's done spinning.
All right, I guess we're just guessing now.
All right.
yeah, I don't know.
Boom
Miami.
Shakalaka says we should have just given him Notre Dame and called it a day.
Yeah.
He said you deserve time and a half for.
It's okay. This is worth it.
Here we go.
Although all the drama's gone now.
Oh.
It's gonna pop up and tell you.
NC State.
Oh, man.
All right.
That's a tough one.
Go Wolfpack.
That's
Wolfpack.
tough.
Are the Wolfpack any good?
They're not great. They're 70th in Ken Palm. They'll probably have like a 500 season.
All right, fellas, before we get out of here, do we want to amend the rules at all and just give Casey?
I think we
a
just
team?
give him Notre Dame.
I'm cool with that. I will come in dressed as a leprechaun just because of it, too. Do we disrespect the wheel, though?
And from now on,
We can't disrespect the
only
wheel.
refer to Notre Dame no longer as the Fighting Irish, but Casey?
The Fighting Leprechauns.
Is that going to get us in trouble with the FCC or with the
don't know.
woke crowd?
I
Or
don't
they
think
call
that-
them Fighting
I don't know.
Leprechaun? Their mascot's a
Casey's
leprechaun.
Irish, so
I don't.
he's
You're
got-
asking a guy that doesn't really know much of that.
Hang on.
You're Irish, Casey. You could say.
But you asked me their mascot, and I knew it was Fighting Irish. I was just saying what it was. And he's a leprechaun. He's a leprechaun, is he not?
So wait a minute.
It's a good spin zone.
So wait, real
This
quick.
is a really,
Are you
really
saying-
quick-witted spin zone.
Are you saying you honestly knew? Now
Yes.
let's lay it on the line here.
Yes.
Are you saying you honestly knew? Because you bring up a great point. Somebody said, "What's their mascot?" You said a leprechaun. Somebody didn't ask what's their nickname. Did you know their nickname, Casey?
I did. I did.
You knew their nickname was the Fighting Irish.
Yes. Yes, I did.
Wow.
But
You gotta
I
take the
still-
man for his word. Is that on me for not specifying enough?
Well,
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's right.
he took it literally. I'm not too sure if 95% of the country wouldn't have said the Fighting Irish if we're being fair and honest. But
Okay.
I'll give you the spin zone on it. I'll let you have it.
Regardless, what is his team? Is it NC State or is it Notre Dame?
So now that you've clarified that, I'm not so sure we should give you Notre Dame. Maybe you're stuck with NC State.
Yeah.
Let's take a vote.
Yeah, take a vote.
Fellas,
in here.
Put it in the
If
chat.
it's
Put it in the
Notre
chat.
Dame,
Put it in the
raise your
chat.
hand.
We'll
Put
let
it-
the chat.
put-
We'll let the chat.
Put the
decide.
chat.
Put the
We'll
chat.
let
Put the chat
decide.
vote.
Okay.
NC State or Notre Dame.
Okay. Let them decide.
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
All right.
We
Good
handed
show,
it away.
Tom.
Have a good weekend this weekend.
You too.
You too. Enjoy it.
Stay
You're
out
not
of
going
trouble.
anywhere, right?
No, right here
Staying
on the home
home.
front. Excited.
There
Excited.
you go.
How do you spell leprechauns?
Dialed in on the Buckeyes and TCU.
Currently have Lepper. That's how we started spelling leprechauns.
I mean,
over
just
here.
put Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm going to
Just put
Or
Notre
NC
Dame.
State.
God bless
Thanks,
America.
Tom. All right. This
All
is this is
Casey,
asking the community here.
you've had better days.
It's tough.
Had better weeks if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you
That's
gotta
not
wipe
been
the
a good
slate
week.
clean and move on.
That's
I mean,
right.
Gonna be the best week ever next week.
who does I'm betting NC State because I respect the wheel.
All right.
I respect the wheel. All right.
I don't know.
So we did the OTB grades.
Twitter.
You know, me and Trace were we're fighting for topics out there. You know, we actually didn't get to talk a whole lot about the show because we were arguing about him and Sean were arguing everything from capital punishment to
don't pin me and Sean about that.
That was me and Trace about that.
Yeah, we were talking about capital punishment, which we won't bring up on this show. I think that's probably taking a little too far.
But I guess what I wanted to get into about Twitter is it's a lawless wasteland out there right now. I mean, it's just get yourself, pay $8 and you can go viral if you're witty enough. Just change your Twitter profile pic and throw out something crazy.
I don't know what you were saying. I shouldn't be a blind follower of Elon Musk.
Sure.
All I got to say about the whole Twitter situation is I have a hard time believing that there isn't an checkers chess game going on with what Elon's doing. I don't know what it is. Can't tell you what it is. But I do trust the fact that whatever Elon's got planned and what he's doing right now is going to make a lot of sense for a lot of people at some point. Don't know when that is. But at the end of the day, if you're on Twitter and you see something and you're not corrected in 5 minutes of you believing something, then you either got bad friends or you just don't do the internet well, so stay off of it.
There is so many funny tweets of people, you know, putting a picture of Joe Biden up and making their name President Joe Biden. You see that blue check mark and you just like, wait a minute, he didn't actually say that.
Right.
What was it yesterday? We saw the Steelers say something about Kenny Pickett. Someone faked the Kenny Pickett and whatnot. And you are blind following at this point because you said, I don't understand what he's doing, but I just trust him that he's going to figure it out. That's the definition of faith.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the guy's been mocked and made fun of most of his career. He came up, just so people know, and I'll stay away from the political side of things, but at the same time, he came up with PayPal well before his time. He then decided he was going to go into electric cars, made the best electric cars when there was Fortune 500, multi-billion-dollar organizations out there like Ford and Chevrolet who never could figure it out. And then he turns around and he decides to tell the government and NASA that he thinks he can make rockets, and then he does that. Do we not think he's going to figure out this whole Twitter thing?
I guess the one pushback I have is I don't think he started any of those companies, did he? He joined in after they already started. He dropped in on PayPal. He definitely didn't start Tesla. He came in on Tesla after they started, and I'm pretty sure SpaceX was.
So you're proving my point.
He did start SpaceX, but it was in a reaction to the U.S. government saying that they weren't.
And he didn't start Twitter, so he's right on. He's right on time.
I guess you're right. I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
Elon Musk is a smarter man than I can be in 10 lifetimes, so we'll figure it out. Right now, it's a lawless wasteland.
What's the next topic? Because me and you both didn't watch a single snap of this game.
That's the point. Jeff Bezos got fleeced on this deal. I mean, they've got to make Thursday Night Football better. I know currently the system is every team plays one game, right? Plays at least one game. And some teams are going to play multiple because there's obviously an odd number of weeks compared to teams. They have to make these games better. These are primetime games.
Yeah, but the NFL doesn't want to make big games on Thursday night, more than likely, like big divisional games on Thursday night, because there's obviously clearly, and at least inside the locker rooms and inside the league front offices, they don't like Thursday night games because it's a distinct disadvantage to play on Thursday versus Sunday because of prep time and wear and tear on guys' bodies, et cetera, et cetera. So they have an issue with that, and that's why every team has to play these, because the NFL said, okay, if everyone has to play them once or whatever, then it all evens out. Then it's a tie. Then there's no distinct advantage for any one team.
Well, it's going to take time. It's going to take a longer time than they probably put into the scheduling right now, but it seems pretty simple that you figure out where you want to, what teams, and if you don't want to do divisional games, that's fine. There's still plenty of games that happen outside of divisions that are still good football games. And you give them, if you're going to play a Thursday night football game, they get the bye the week before. They get it. Both teams that are playing the Thursday night football game get the bye the week before. Obviously, that can't happen weeks 1 through 4 or whenever the byes start. But the middle point of the season, there's no reason why all the teams playing on Thursday night football have to do a short turnaround. They get a bye, and you make it a meaningful game to where I actually want to sit down and watch Thursday night football as opposed to watching whatever I was watching. I think the wife had season 6 of Grey's Anatomy on, so that's what I was watching last night instead of football. By the way, have you seen that TikTok of the guy going up to his wife and he says, "Hey, honey, Have you guys seen this? This guy.
We might have to dig this up for the end of the show.
This guy goes up to his girlfriend and goes, "Hey, honey, I know I've been watching a lot of football. How about we skip out on Tuesday night football tonight and go out and get some dinner?" Yeah. And she just takes it's like, "You would do that for me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't need to watch their Tuesday night football. I don't need to."
To be fair, there is action, right?
I was going to say, it's brutal that he's skipping out on Toledo and Ball State.
Right. I mean, yeah, I know he's doing it as a joke, but hey, it's no disrespect to the MAC here.
Sure. But let's move on. This is something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I don't think I sent the screenshot to Casey and Paul, and I don't know if they have it in them to be able to look up the CFP RSVP. Our chat's probably smart enough to look it up themselves. But CFP RSVP. I've been digging into this for years now, and every year you can go in and you can purchase the rights to be able to buy championship tickets. Not playoff tickets, but actual championship game tickets. And again, to be clear, you're not buying the tickets for this price. You are just buying the tickets, and he's dragging it up there, and we'll see how this.
Double checking to see if that's what you want.
That is exactly it. Yep.
Okay. I got it.
He's gonna get it squared away here, but at the end of the day, you are just purchasing the ability to buy the tickets, and I'm always in the office to a certain extent at around this time of the year, saying, okay, what's my value here? What team can I kind of hitch my wagon to and be like, okay, let's buy these teams, because if they make it, we're getting value.
It works like a stock, right?
Yes.
It's dependent on demand, and the more people are wanting these tickets, the more their prices go up, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. Spurs said tell them to check their inbox, so I guess he might have sent it to you, but Casey's already working on it. But nonetheless, point is, chat, here's how it works. You can sell your whatever you want to call it, your ability to purchase the tickets to someone else. So sometimes you might not even be in there buying these.
Little pump and dump.
It's a little pump and dump. And the cool thing is it's literally just like a stock exchange. And I was going through it this morning. You can see up there, you have your Ohio States, your Tennessees, your Michigans, and your Georgias, who are, I don't know, you guys can probably see the numbers. I'm not able to see them from where I'm at, but they're relatively high, right? Mm-hmm. You're spending some good coin to get the ability to buy those championship tickets. But we were talking out there before the show. Let's see what the chat thinks. Their best. What if you had to pick? I'll go around the room here. One team in there to buy, and I want to take Georgia and I want to take Ohio State out of it. You take those two teams out of it. Where are you putting your money?
$100.
Best value, folks. Best value. This doesn't mean exactly they're 100% gonna get into the championship game. But if you took Georgia and Ohio State out of there, which one are we taking, comparatively speaking, with the price point?
It's worth mentioning that there's a caveat to this. This isn't for the semifinal games. This is for the national championship.
Yeah, that's what I said. You got to make the championship.
You got to make the championship game. Because that makes things a lot different. Because all of a sudden those Pac-12 teams don't seem as likely to beat. If they're getting in at 4, don't seem as likely to beat a number 1 Georgia.
Right.
Or even a number 1 Ohio State if that happened.
Sir Boy said Tennessee. The reason I don't like Tennessee personally is because it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
And 2, I really don't think Tennessee has I don't love their chances of advancing.
I was telling you guys out there, on DraftKings currently there's 12 teams that you can bet on to either make it or not make the college football playoff. And out of those 12 teams, the team with the third worst odds, the 10th team out of those 12, is the undefeated TCU Horned Frogs. They're giving UCLA, Oregon, Ole Miss, USC, Clemson, LSU all better odds than TCU to make the college football playoff.
This is why me and Spurlock are probably do pretty well together, because at the end of the day, when the going gets tough, we see eye on a lot of things. I think the Pac-12 teams are 100% the teams that you take. You spend your whatever it is, $30, $40. You're going to probably more than likely get one of them in.
But they have to get to the championship.
And my hope is, and this is what I've been saying about Georgia all along, I think there's a small chance that Georgia just loses a random game because they've done it every year since they've started playing football. They're going to lose either in maybe the SEC championship, or maybe they stub their toe this week at Mississippi State, or I don't know what happens, but maybe, just maybe, Georgia's 3. They play against a quote-unquote 2 seed, which would be, I don't know, call it call it Ohio State maybe if Ohio State gets in. Well, Ohio State's going to be one. It'd be Michigan. Maybe Georgia and Michigan are playing 2-3, and then you have a situation where one would be an undefeated – well, I don't know. This is where it gets tough.
Yeah, I just don't see a whole lot of the only team that it seems
Tennessee.
likely that a Pac-12 team would beat is Michigan.
I think all three of those Pac-12 teams can beat Tennessee, personally. And I think they could beat Michigan possibly on the right day, the right time.
Mr. McAllister, you raised your hand.
I was going to say something.
Yeah.
But you could just buy multiple teams, right? Like
yeah,
both the Pac-12 and the Big 12, right? Like TCU and Oregon. If you combine those, you have a better chance of at least going to one of them.
Right. Correct. I would just say that I'm all out on TCU. I hate to say that with some Horned Frog fans around here, but I'm all out on TCU. I don't think there's any chance.
So are you doubling
snowball's
up
chance
on,
in hell basically that they're going to be in?
Are you doubling up Oregon and USC then?
I'm going USC, UCLA, and Oregon for $40.
Okay.
Yep.
I would do that.
Yep.
That's a good bet.
I don't know if I love it, but that's where we're at.
While you guys were discussing this, I'm heavy deep trying to figure out the best value on college football bets, teams to make the college football playoffs on DraftKings.
Right.
And one bet, I kind of think
the casino's his Bible, by the way. You notice that? You ever notice that? Whenever there's like something of a take, you quickly scramble to the books, which is not a bad idea.
That's what you base your entire betting philosophy on. Is Vegas is smarter than the common man. But Clemson, I think at plus 450 is some of your best value to get to make the college football playoff, because I don't see them losing again in the ACC.
I don't hate it.
And I don't think TCU is going to go undefeated, and if they don't go undefeated, they're not getting in. And you're basically betting on the backs that those Pac-12 teams are, and Oregon would get in over Clemson, but I'm not so sure UCLA would get in over Clemson as a one-loss team. So the other bet that I like is Ohio State to not make the college football playoff at the same odds, plus 450, because essentially that bet is a Michigan money line at plus 450 with some help on some other teams if they slip up. But you're basically getting Michigan money line at plus 450.
What is the Michigan money line?
It hasn't come out yet. It'll come out in a few weeks. It'll probably, I don't know where the line will be, but at worst it's probably plus 350. Right?
Let's do this. Let's do a fun little thing right now. And the chat can chime in. Ohio State, Michigan. What's the line going to be?
Ooh.
At Ohio State.
It's at Ohio State?
At Ohio State. I will start just to try to give at least the chat and you guys a little bit of time. I'm going to say that Michigan should be a 6.5 point underdog.
I have 8. I have 8 points. Ohio State's an 8-point favorite. I think it's just beyond a touchdown.
All right. What we got over there?
I was going to say 5.5. But yeah, Reed, you make that point about the touchdown. I'm going to say 5.5 though.
5.5 is, if you're looking at the lines, it kind of just makes you draw a blank, right? Same with 6.5. You're like, I don't know either way. You don't get a knee-jerk reaction. If it's at 2.5, you're thinking, oh, they really like Michigan in this game.
Yeah.
And if it's 12.5, you're thinking, oh, the Ohio State's gonna roll.
Yep.
But
Casey,
throw
something out there, Casey.
What do you got?
Throw us a number.
I don't know. You guys have both been kind of high, right? I'm kind of leaning more towards a lower number, but
like a field goal,
maybe like 3.5.
Michigan favored?
No,
No way.
No,
Let's save Casey from that. Come on. What are we doing?
No, Michigan won't be favored, but I'm saying 3.5, 4. I think
Okay.
that feels right to me.
I'll tell you this right now. There's some Ohio State fans that are in this office, and if that line comes out at 3.5,
it's not good. Looking good for Ohio State because
no, it's not.
They put the night crawler in the water. Then
Yeah.
Vegas put the night crawler in the water and hope he ain't a bluegill circling around it.
that's 100% fact. What's next on the list? What we got?
Next on the list is we're talking about bets.
Yep.
I want to hear if you've got any plays. You won us a lot of money. You won me a lot of money last Friday on the company raised parlay because these guys are too chicken shit to
Don't understand it, but
to bet the parlay.
They didn't.
My God.
It doesn't
So
make
I
any
want
sense.
to know, Trace. You got any bets that you're feeling pretty favorable about? In chat. I know this isn't our betting show. That's not too picky.
Right. I would just say that there's a couple of overreactions that I think that perhaps we could try to capitalize on this weekend. One is Alabama. I think obviously everybody thinks Alabama stinks, and perhaps maybe they're not as good as other years. But guess what? Ole Miss is still Ole Miss, and Alabama is still Alabama. And there's probably a good chance that you realize that this weekend. So I will take Alabama. Given, I think it's like whatever it is, 11 points or something like that. I also think there's an overreaction possibly. I've been looking through these lines. There's an overreaction. Where was the other one that I circled here? Give me a second. Overreaction with Maryland last week. Maryland played in basically like a hurricane, as Ohio State fans will tell you. And they're going to play Penn State, and they're getting 10.5 points. I think Maryland's probably a little too good for that. And then the NFL, if you're going to give me 3 points, I don't care if Allen's elbow is messed up or not. But I think it's 3 points. What is it, guys?
1 o'clock against Kirk Cousins?
3.5.
What if Case Keenum plays?
I will be taking the Bills in that situation. I'm also going to take the Packers just out of principle of the overreaction.
Okay. Well, we've got the clip out now. Now we can put them on Not Too Picky's TikTok. I think I brought it up yesterday. The lines that I kind of like Notre Dame plus or minus 15.5 against Navy. That's a shorter line than what UC was, and I think Notre Dame's a better team than UC. And then also I like Tennessee to get back on the horse. They're minus 20.5 against Missouri. I know Missouri kind of put you in a bad bind earlier this year as a Georgia fan.
I will say this. I'd be hesitant to do that just because I don't know how well Tennessee can handle interior pressure, and I will say that I think that
Missouri's got some dogs.
Missouri's been able to do that on certain teams.
Paul,
one team that Vegas loves, low key, guys. I don't know if you've been noticing this. They like Virginia.
Yeah, we've had Virginia Not Too Picky.
They do like Virginia.
They like Virginia, and I've been
in the NFL. They hate the Seahawks. They don't understand the Seahawks for a lick of sense, which I don't think anybody can. They just keep winning.
I don't know what it is about Virginia, but they do enjoy them some Virginia. What else do we got? We got.
You were going to say something, Reed. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say the Seahawks don't make any lick of sense. So. I'm going to let you guys – I'm going to pass out some snacks. We're almost time for the snack time, but I want to discuss this. This was a tweet that I saw earlier this morning.
Yeah.
What is the worst loss? This can be story time for each of you guys. What is the worst loss that you guys have experienced as a fan? I mean, just put you in a bind as a fan.
Ooh, I can go first if you want. My worst experience was probably the Pittsburgh wild card game in 2015. Just because it felt like, one, we had been beat up by Pittsburgh all game. Giovanni gets concussed and knocked out of the game. And you're like feeling good about the comeback. And then all of a sudden you get Jeremy Hill fumbling the ball, and it just snowballs into this unbelievable end to a playoff game that would have broke what we refer to as the curse. Not that I believe in it, but it just felt terrible. And
Did you cry?
I didn't cry, but I can remember cursing in front of my parents for the first time. I know Thomas, he's in our group chat right now. He was there at my house watching it with me. My dad...
Tom Brenneman was at the game watching?
No, my good friend Thomas, he's my best man. He was there with me. We were all just so pissed off. My dad was even cursing, and he never curses. Yeah. And it was just a weird, terrible night to be a Bengals fan. But
I cried. I cried.
You cried?
I cried. By the way, we're snacking on some fudge rounds today. Zingers was Wednesday. We're going to keep a chart. We're going to rate these as they go along. And I'll tell you what. These take me back to 2009, playing Modern Warfare 2 on Paul's eating another zinger. Paul cannot have these. He's allergic to nuts. These might have nuts in them, might have a little peanut butter in them. But, man, these are A+. Trace, have you ever had a fudge round?
Have I ever?
Oh, my God.
Come on.
They're
Touchdowns are solid. I don't know if they're better than Zingers, though.
They're not better than Zingers.
Who's next?
Paul,
Worst loss?
worst loss.
2012 NLDS Game 5, but not the Reds, the Nats. The Nats lost.
Who'd they play? Cardinals?
Cardinals. They were up by 2 with 2 strikes,
This
2
wasn't
outs,
a
2
David
strikes.
Freese thing, was it?
No, it was Pete Kozma. Yeah, that was terrible. They were up by 2. They were up, I think, 5-6 nothing to start the game. Then they were up by 2 with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the 9th inning, and still lost. Wisconsin Xavier would be up there while I was a student at X, but that NLDS game, the fandom is kind of. I feel like, I don't know, working in sports is kind of just.
Killed your fandom a little bit?
I don't want to say killed the fandom, but it's like
You hate the sport now?
Working in sports, you just sort of, or at least like being like around the media and stuff, you just sort of, you're not really rooting for stuff.
No, we need to fix that.
Yeah, you got to be a fan. Come on,
Got to
man.
get that back. We got to
So-
get that. We got to get that.
I've kind of lost
back.
the like guttural fan. Like I don't really react. I guess the Bengals maybe, since I don't work. You know, like I don't work with the Bengals. I talk about them here, but I don't know.
I get what you're feeling.
You seemed in
though.
bad shape at Notre Dame Stadium, but was that because of bets?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was financial shape.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy when Notre Dame wins, but my weekend is not ruined when they lose.
Right.
Unless it's financially.
All right. Casey, do you got a 5-word review on the fudge round?
Not too bad,
Not as good as Zingers.
but not great.
Okay.
I know that's 6 words, but
Man, I like
They've made one word that encompasses all 6 of those words for you. It's called average.
Man, we'll put it right in the middle of the alignment chart. Man, I like fudge rounds. Trace, what is the worst loss that you've experienced as
These
a
are
fan?
bad. Well, I don't know why we did this as a topic. I didn't create this topic. You did, obviously. Doesn't seem like this is something that one would want to share. I only cried one time when I was a kid when Kansas lost to Syracuse in the championship game.
That was not Casey's team.
Hakeem worked, blocked.
Is that 03?
Blocked Brandon. I think it was Brandon Rush, but I don't remember exactly who it was. It's been that long ago. 03, you said? What was 03?
Yep. Mello?
Mello. Yeah, Mello did it. That wasn't the worst one. The worst one, genuinely, because I think it's my biggest fandom, was either. I would call it a tie. I heard it the same. Reds 2012 is right there. I'm not a Bearcat fan because I think if I was a Bearcat fan, Sean might say that the Nevada game.
The Nevada game was bad.
I think that's his lowest that Sean's ever been. But as far as me, I'd say when Alabama, because you got to realize Alabama for the longest time was the boogeyman. They genuinely took all of my. They took all of my joy as a Georgia fan every year. I mean, it didn't matter what happened. Alabama always found a way to win. You can go back and look through the way in which Georgia lost to Alabama time and time again. It just was heartbreaking. And I thought there was a magical year when Chubb and Michelle were there. They went out into the Rose Bowl and they beat Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield. And then they went back and they literally, I think, that year led Alabama.
Is this 2017?
2017.
Sir Boy was drawing it on the on the money.
They led Alabama, I think, that year. If they play, how many minutes they play in a football game? Help me out.
60, right? 60. Yep, 30. 30 plus 30. 60 minutes.
They play 60 minutes of football game?
Yep.
So 15-minute quarters. Out of the 120 minutes they played Alabama that year, I bet, I don't have stats to prove this, but I can look it up for next show. I bet Georgia was winning in 110 of them. And they got beat on the last play in the national championship game when they just sacked Tua, and it was 2nd and 28. I will always remember that.
In the chat, we've got a lot of 2012 Game 5s and 2015 Bengals playoffs.
Yeah,
The thing about
Thomas brought up a terrible one too.
Oh man, 2015 Packers Seahawks.
Oh.
That's why you're out on Russ.
That's why I hate Russell Wilson.
I
hate Russell Wilson because the post-game press conference, whatever, Aaron Andrews in the middle of the field, he's out here talking about Jesus and how God was the reason that they got the onside kick and won that game. It just pissed me off to no end. And then now I have to hear about how Aaron Rodgers has only been to one Super Bowl because he's got nimwits out there who can't recover an onside kick. It's beyond. I mean, it's been tough out here being a Packers Georgia fan, believe it or not.
As for Bengals fandom, you know why the 2015 game hurt so bad, Case? And I don't know if you
why are we doing this?
Cause what else were we going to talk about today? You could have hopped in singular and added whatever topic you wanted. I mean, come on, man. I'm doing my best.
Why are we doing this, man?
2015 hurt so bad because the expectations were low. Snuck into the postseason off the back of Andy Dalton. He was hurt. A.J. McCarron was out there playing the Steelers. No one thought that the Bengals were going to win this game. They go down 2 scores early on, and you're just like, whatever, right off the checks. We said, release the dogs. Let Pac-Man and Vontaze Burfict just go loose. Let them be hungry dogs out there. And sons of guns, they got us back in that game. You take the lead. You get the ball back. You get the interception going into the thing. It was the lows. It was the highs. The roller coaster was like riding the beast at Kings Island.
Great ride.
And then they just lose. And it was just a gut punch.
It's because it's almost unbelievable how it happened.
Right.
It's unfathomable that your team.
You get the ball back with 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Yeah.
This chat is sick.
It's just
miserable. This chat is so bad.
And it's crazy because none of us, not even the chat, has mentioned the Super Bowl loss.
Well,
I was pretty down bad then too because I thought we had a good chance to win, and it was on the final play.
Right. I've got a funny story about the Super Bowl. So we go down to the Banks for the Super Bowl, which was the wrong move because I didn't go to the Avenue for first off, and we all know when I go to the Avenue, the Bengals win. But I wanted to be down in Cincinnati if the Bengals won. I wanted to riot. I wanted to loot. I wanted to do all the things that were going to be just go on if the Bengals won the Super Bowl. I wanted to be in Cincinnati if that happened. And I'd spent all day at Tin Roof, snuck in there, had to get in there via some hanky stuff. Not going to go into that full details, but
not hanky panky, right?
No. The Bengals lose. And immediately, the second that final play happens, Tin Roof, which had been open for 8 hours, cleared out. Like, immediately, instantly. Everyone, I don't even know if people paid their taps, left. And we're riding in the car, heading back, and I'm with one other guy and 4 girls, my wife and her friends. And they're singing in the back of the seat, and I'm looking down, just sad puppy, very drunk, too. I'd been drinking all day, experiencing this game. And they're singing these songs, having a good time. And I look up at them and I'm like, don't you guys get it? Why aren't you guys upset about this? We just lost. It was literally the Billy Bean scene from Moneyball. Like, that's what losing sounds like. I am yelling at these girls who could give 2 craps if the Bengals won or lost. I'm yelling at them to be quiet because we just lost the game. Experience the losing. We should be in misery. And they're just lollygagging around.
Yeah, I have a very similar experience, except it was the kind of the opposite. I was trying to help someone pick themselves back up because they were just bawling their eyes out. They were like literally on the floor, cradled. I'm like, dude, it's okay. We're there. We're a good team.
It's
now.
not okay, Casey. We lost.
And it's my future brother-in-law was literally crying because he was so drunk and so emotional. He was just crying in the back of my car. I'm like, this is just the most depressed. This is what losing sounds like. A grown-ass man crying in the back of my car. It was just terrible. That's a terrible loss too. I think that's my second.
My wife woke me up the next morning and was like, you were being an asshole last night. Why were you yelling at us? And I was like, because you guys, I didn't back off.
You doubled down.
No, I was like, back down from that.
I was like, you don't understand. Like, this is important. Like, what happens when the Kardashians run their final show? What happens if the Kardashians never talk to each other again? Mariana, this is mine. That's your Super Bowl. This is mine. Gosh.
You know what's somewhat sad? I don't know how many people in the chat have felt it. I will say last year when Georgia won it all, there is a little bit, and I don't want to sound like pessimistic. There is a little bit of an empty feeling to it, though. Here's why. Because your whole life, genuinely, you're chasing this thing. Like, you just want it so bad. And you're just like, I would do anything to see my team hold up the trophy at the end of the year, just like I watch every single year. And there's just like really, really, maybe it's just me because there's times where you're always wanting more and you're never happy or whatever. And that's good to have in some aspects. Sometimes it's not. But I'm telling you, I'm just forewarning you that you will sit there for just a brief moment in time being like, so this is it? Like, so we won?
Right.
And now what?
What
you
now?
do it again? I mean,
now we go again.
But I will say that the best thing about winning a big game, the best thing, and I don't care what anyone tells you, yes, you get elated at the very beginning of it all. It's watching all of the shows that night, the day after. You get to hear about all the national media just literally spends their little 10 to 15-minute segment on your specific team. That is the best part. I don't know why it is.
Colin
but
Cowherd putting the Bengals in the herd hierarchy every week is my heroin. That is what I get my fix on every single week. But I'll explain this for Trace. Sir Boy Wonder wants to know why you're a Georgia and a Packers fan. Trace is a part of a family where the patriarch of that family was a running back for both Georgia and the Packers. Breezy Reed was his name. So
stepdad's dad, to be clear. He essentially was, as you said, played at Georgia, played for the Packers, played there long enough ago to where there wasn't like this multi-generational wealth,
right.
To be fair. But you got raised within this household that rooted for those teams religiously. And when I mean religiously, I mean like I don't even know Georgia's fight song, and I can't sing it because I say the wrong word because that's the way it's been sung. And I don't want to say it.
Your step-uncle also played at Georgia, right?
Yeah, right. So Danny's dad and his brother both played at Georgia. So it's just this family thing, and obviously anytime you're inside of a household that's rooting for a specific team, you're going to root for that team because that's the way it goes in life.
Yeah.
Unless you're Reed and you root for the Cubs.
Well, so the cap off, it wasn't a loss because the Cubs ended up winning the World Series. But the lowest I've ever felt watching a sporting event was watching Rajai Davis hit that home run in the 8th inning of Game 7 of the 2016 World Series. I was in a dorm room with a bunch of Cleveland fans, and I started swinging. I was ready to punch people that were cheering for for the Indians. I left immediately, and I missed the next 10 minutes of the game. Because I was gonna fight them. I was that upset, but it's neither here nor there. All right, so we'll cap off this show. Oh, Sir Boy,
he's got a good point.
Why am I not allowed being a Cubs fan? They're terrible, but neither here nor there. All right, we'll cap off this show the same way we will every day, and that's with the Wheel of Lunch.
Yeah, I agree. Let's let the chat put it in the Wheel of Lunch.
Yeah. If anyone got a suggestions
for lunch,
one suggestion from the chat.
I will. My suggestion again is I'm just going to throw Chipotle in there.
Oh my gosh, this guy!
You're
worse than my 10-year-old son.
I was just trying to think quick.
My 10-year-old son has 2 places he has to go. It's Chipotle and Skyline.
Alec Wallace threw in Basil.
Great spots.
Basil?
No, but not my son.
Ooh.
No.
Ooh.
I like bacon. Put in Gina's. Got to put in Gina's.
Put Gina's in there. I could smack some fettuccine.
Birds, obviously.
2 for Gina's.
Gina's is great.
So, am I putting Gina's in twice?
No.
Okay.
You don't have to put all these in.
So Chipotle and Gina's.
I don't know if Basil's open, to be honest.
Cane's.
Basil is good, though.
We doing Cane's?
Well, it's a suggestion. I'm just.
Yeah, I'm okay with Cane's.
Richards,
yeah, good. See, that's what we should be doing from here on out.
Boom Shakalaka said birds very early on, even on Tom's show. So we'll throw birds in there.
Yeah,
that's over
birds.
in Fairfield.
Yep.
Sir Boy said steak and shake.
Steak and shake.
R.I.P.
When was the last time you guys went to Applebee's? I'm not suggesting it, but
there was an Applebee's across the street from the Bowie Bay Sox last year where I worked. There was one across the street from the parking lot. That was like the only spot after a game that you could go and get anything or have a beer or really do anything. So
get an Oreo
got
shake.
Stung by the bees a lot last year.
I see a Chick-fil-A steak and shake at McDonald's.
We just did Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna say no on the Mickey D's because I just can't.
How many we got on there?
Yeah,
Chipotle, Gina's, right? Cane's, Richards, Birds. I think that's good.
All right, get them. Yeah, let's get
fire.
the
Let's get rid of the other ones.
Let's fire.
All right, this is how we do the Wheel of Lunch, similar to Casey's fandom. We do it by removal until we're down to the final 2, and then whichever one it lands on in the final 2, that's where we go.
Switch up the Birds color. Can you do that?
We are slaves to the wheel.
I'll try to do it here in a second. I'm just Lining her up.
Honestly, it doesn't really matter.
Here we go.
Just
Might
fire
want
it
to
up.
skip
Let's do
Hamilton
it.
Applebee's. Yeah, it did get shut down for a short period of time.
Health inspection.
All right,
Put it
see you
on.
later, Richards.
See you, Richards.
No steak sandwich today.
That's kind of tough.
You wanted the steak sandwich?
That's an early.
Is my Chipotle submission going to be like the
That's kind of like
The
when
Wendy's
you're playing
from a
the
couple
Wendy's
days?
from the other
That's
day?
like when you're playing war with someone and you throw down a queen and they throw a king right on top.
Oh, here we
of
go.
It.
There you
All right,
go.
we got
There
Chipotle
we
out of
go.
there. All right, now we can't lose. I would prefer
can
Ginas
we?
or Birds.
We could lose with
We
Canes.
can lose with kings.
Only because we eat there so much.
We do eat there a lot.
It's great. We
need a yellow right here. Come on.
No.
Come on.
Oh no.
No. Oh, that's hard.
That's hard.
We love Ginas here.
I really was looking forward to some pasta.
All right. What it lands on is where we're going, right?
That's right, Casey.
Yeah.
I gotta have birds.
Damn it. Oh,
yes.
There we go.
Birds,
Yes.
birds. Heck
Good.
yes.
Yeah,
We're
boom
going to birds.
shakalaka for the win. At the very beginning, too.
He did. That was the first suggestion.
Birds.
That was like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got to go to Birds. 2 p.m. I'm going to be locked into some Spectrum TV.
RIP for the rest of our, probably next hour and a half working day.
Is it a slow service?
No. That's nothing against birds. That's just
Just
the
a
idea.
sit-down restaurant.
It's going to take, 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to get back, sit-down restaurant, you know.
By the way,
At 2 p.m., I've got to be locked into the Baden volleyball game.
The chat has decided
What'd they decide?
That you're a Notre Dame
that
fan?
I am a Notre Dame fan. So I will be.
How do you feel about that?
I won a big one against Radford last night. Held on at the end.
Drew Mouse went to Radford. Fun fact.
I feel pretty good about it. I'm,
Got
my
kicked out.
Fighting Leprechauns. They're gonna do me right this season.
Okay, I got a question
And-
for you, Casey.
Yeah.
Notre Dame was losing by 10 last night with 6 minutes left to Radford.
Yeah.
What do you think they changed? How do you think they won that game last night? What'd they do better in those last 6 minutes?
Paul.
Well, obviously they scored more, so that's a good start.
That's great.
That's nice.
That's good stuff.
That's good.
Just if anyone
Open up
ever
the
gives you
offense.
a question like that, just say they had more grit. You can't go wrong with that answer.
Yeah.
Got a little
So
gritty.
What is your?
You know what they did?
I'm with you.
Oh, okay.
You know what they did, Casey?
What?
It wasn't so much that they opened up the offensive playbook and just started putting the ball in the bucket, even though they did. You know what they did? They slapped the floor, got in a defensive stance, and started shuffling side to side. They really just did not let anyone get by defensively.
That's good
Sometimes you got to
technique.
slap the floor. You got to get down.
That was really good technique, by the way, Reed.
Thanks. I did not lose to the Math and Science Club in 7th grade.
Oh.
But I have not scored 10 points in a game, in an organized basketball game. You guys want to join the men's league over at Spooky Nook? We can end this show whenever.
Yeah, let's do it. What night?
If we started a men's league,
yeah,
basketball, it has. You guys are too young though. That's where this gets tough. We need to be in an older men's league.
Yeah, 25 and up, it's not going to work. We need to be 30 and up league.
Yeah, you guys need to. Can we? What's the chat think about just us doctoring up and you guys saying you're 30? So Casey definitely passes the test when we get that beard back.
I'm 25.
Sunday at 1 p.m., I find out if I'm Rookie of the Year in the Cincinnati Adult Baseball League. So it's big
That's
candidacy going on.
Hey, listen, I'm hoping for it. I'm hoping for it right here.
Thanks.
What's that?
You can't see it, but
Oh yeah, the Baden senior
Baden
cutout.
bobblehead.
I'm hoping for it.
Chat, you guys are loyal. We appreciate you.
Yep.
And hope you have a good weekend. And at the end of the day, let's just hope and pray that Casey has a little bit of a better week. See you, everybody.
See ya.